grooming, I yell as they drag me to the asylum. He tenderly kisses each of my toes. What is it about elevators? Hello and welcome. My name is Ray the Ghost, and this is my channel. Today I'm going to be reading and ranting about 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James, the classic. This is my first ever video, so forgive me while I try and figure things out. I just have some notes and I'm just gonna rant because I really hated this book. I don't know, I hope it's fun today. I'm planning to have fun, so I hope you have fun too. I also want to apologize. I'm trying to find my personality. I think it's really just a journey when you first start filming videos. I also don't want to like be a hater and like make people uncomfortable. If you enjoy this book, if you like this book, that's totally fine. I just didn't like this book, and that's okay too. So if you really like this book, this video is just not going to be for you. I don't want you to stick around if it's gonna make you feel defensive or upset. So if you really liked it, you might just want to leave. I will also include trigger warnings. I'll just pop them up right now. I wanted to give a little extra context on the grooming trigger because it's not explicitly in the book, it's just my interpretation of it, so I'm going to be talking about it a lot today. So if you want to read the book, it's not in the book necessarily, it's just that I read the book and felt like the relationship between Christian and Anna was grooming. So if you read it and you don't interpret it as that, then obviously that's totally your own opinion and you're entitled to that. I guess we'll just get into it. So I figure what better way to start than me just reading the first like 2 sentences for you. Let's do that. So chapter 1. I scowl with frustration at myself in the mirror. Damn my hair, it just won't behave, and damn Catherine Kavanagh for being ill and subjecting me to this ordeal. I should be studying for my final exams, which are next week, yet here I am trying to brush my hair into submission. Get it? Submission? The foreshadowing is so good, guys. Oh my god, it's so peak. So basically the situation here is that our main character, Anastasia, or she typically goes by Anna, is helping her friend Kate out, and Kate is her roommate. They go to Washington State University together, and she is on the school newspaper. She's like a researcher for them. And she managed to book an interview with the notorious Christian Grey of like the Christian Grey Enterprises or something stupid like that, and she unfortunately got the flu on the day or has the flu on the day where she was supposed to drive up there, and so she's like, Anna, you have to do this for me, please. And so Anna is gonna go drive up to Seattle, which they're in Vancouver, and interview Christian. So that's the whole setup. Anna is already pissing me off. Let me tell you. So the whole situation, Kate is being pretty reasonable. I mean, obviously this is a really big ask, and so she is like very apologetic. She's like, I'm so sorry that I have to put you through this. I just really need help. There's no one else, I guess, who can do this interview except for you. And so, I don't know, and Anna's agreed to it. There's like 2 things going on, which is one, she's kind of just being backhanded. She's sort of being like, you know, talking to Kate and like, oh yeah, I'll help you out, and then sort of turning around and being like, it's so annoying that I have to do this. Why did she have to get sick? Okay. But the other thing that's happening is that she's already comparing herself to Kate in like a I have insecurities way, which is a really interesting decision for the first chapter, for our first impression of her, and it's just she's insecure. Like, okay. And so let me read you this line. How does she do it? Even ill. She looks gaming and gorgeous, strawberry blonde hair in place and green eyes bright, although now red rimmed and runny. I ignore my pang of unwelcome sympathy. I think that basically sums up everything I'm trying to say. Like, if it wasn't obvious, she's talking about Kate. So she's like, wow, even when she's sick, she's like prettier than me, and I don't even want to feel bad for her. I can't imagine if one of my friends was sick, like, and even if I had to do them a really big favor, like an inconveniently big favor, I can't imagine I would not want to feel bad for them, or that I would be like, ugh, why do I have to feel bad for them? I want to just be mad at them. It's just like an unfortunate situation. Like, no one's at fault here, you know? Why are we acting like she got sick on purpose? Like, I don't know. I just don't like the way that we write Anna right from the beginning. Right? Right from the beginning. Get it? Sorry. That was pun intended. What are we doing? What am I doing? The other thing is that she, after this whole thing where I'm kind of like, you don't feel bad for your friend, or you don't want to feel bad for your friend, you're kind of being a hater, you're kind of blaming her for being sick. And then Anna is like, oh, but I love her, she's my best friend. Like, okay, do you really like her? You're acting like you don't like her and then turning around and telling us, oh, but I love her. Anna leaves to go up to Seattle for the interview with Big Papa Christian. And she gets there, she goes inside. It's like a super modern building, skyscraper or something. And she gets inside, and there's not one, but two blonde receptionists. The absolute horror. Like, I would be terrified. But she names these women in her head, blonde number 1 and blonde number 2. What do you mean you see two blonde women? They happen to work at the same building. Like, not a ton of people are naturally blonde or dye their hair blonde in America. And you see them working coincidentally at the same building, and you're like, must really like blondes here. What? And you're giving them these weird names, like, what? I think we're just trying to show that Anna's like playful. She has like this playful personality, but it just really is coming off as like, I'm insecure. She's in the waiting room and she's waiting, as you do. And the guy that was in the interview with Christian leaves, and it's like, oh my god, it's her turn. So she gets up. She's nervous. She's not an interview person. I get it. I'm the same. She goes to do this interview. She's walking through the door. And she falls on her hands and knees. That's literally a nightmare. That's nightmare fuel. I would never live that down. That's like the kind of thing that I'm having a good day, and then my brain's just like, remember that time you tripped and fell on your hands and knees during that interview? And then I'm ruined. You know? Not to mention the fact it's only page 7 and she's already on her hands and knees for this man. And the fact that it was an accident is even more telling. I told you guys, the foreshadowing is insane. They commence small talk because what else are you gonna do before an interview? I don't know. I don't know, actually. They're talking about like art, and they're trying to make them seem like super cultured. Like, yeah, I know my artists, and it's like local artists. It reminds me of the scene from Twilight where Bella walks into his room, Edward's room, and starts playing Claire de Lune. You're getting Twilight shoutouts. You're welcome. They start the interview though. Don't worry. She's like, you're very young to have amassed such an empire. To what do you owe your success? And he responds with this, with, business is all about people, Miss Steele, and I'm very good at judging people. I know how they tick, what makes them flourish, what doesn't, what inspires them, and how to incentivize them. I employ an exceptional team, and I reward them well. My belief is to achieve success in any scheme, one has to make oneself master of that scheme. Know it inside and out, know every detail. I work hard, very hard to do that. Why is he so manipulative? The fact that we just claim this from the beginning is really, really important to me for a lot of the things that he does, because it proves to me that whether he was supposed to be written as manipulative or he was just supposed to be, I don't know what he was supposed to be, but it shows me, it makes me think that a lot of what he does is intentional, even if he says, I just can't control myself. I'll bring that up in a second, but just wanted to share that with you. I'm now going to summarize the rest of the interview because it's boring and long enough that I don't feel the need to read every little thing for you. She's like, can I ask some questions? And he's like, that's what you're here for. What if I stabbed him? And then she's like, why are you such a control freak? And he's like, I just love manipulating people, as I've already told you. And she's like, you're really rich. That's awesome. And he's like, yeah, that's basically my job, because I don't do anything in this book besides be rich and make like 2 phone calls and have like 1 emergency work crisis that's never explained. This next thing, these are all actual quotes. You had to sacrifice family life for your job. That's not a question. He makes me feel like an errant child. Why do you feel like a child? Ugh. And then she straight up asks him if he's gay, which is like so embarrassing. I don't know. He's like, what? Yeah. It's like a joke that didn't land, you know, but the reactions are what's funny to me. Christian is angry. He's like, what? Like, his face just like darkens. He's like, how could you ask me that? I'm the straightest man you'll ever meet. And it's like, if you're not homophobic and you're supposedly secure in your sexuality, why are you offended by that question? Like, that proves to me that you're either homophobic, like you are, or you're not secure in your sexuality. And then her reaction is like, oh my God, how could I say that? And this just makes me mad, because she said earlier in the chapter, she's like, I'm gonna go over all the questions so I know what to expect, basically, right? Like a normal person would do. And then she gets this interview and she's like, how could I say that question? Did you not read the questions like you said you were gonna do? I'm so tired already. Anyways, blonde number 2 comes in. She's like, hey Christian, you actually have another meeting in like 5 minutes, so you need to finish this interview. And he's like, cancel it. The only thing I care about now is my kitten Anastasia. You barely know this woman. Like, he literally canceled his meeting for Anastasia. Like, who is she? She's been in your office for probably less than an hour. She just asked you if you were gay and you got offended by that. And you're not like, get out of my office. You're not like, oh yeah, sorry, great interview, I really need to leave. He's like, no, I want to keep talking to this young, submissive woman. He's just a freak. I hate him. And like, he is like talking to Anna. And he's like, you should tell me about yourself. It's only fair because you were asking me all these questions. Why is that fair? That's actually not fair at all, because she was interviewing you. That's why she was asking you these questions, like these personal questions, because she was interviewing you, and that was literally the point of this entire meeting. And you're gonna sit there like, it's only fair. It's so inappropriate. It's not fair at all. But he also like straight up is like, do you want to, I don't know, like have an internship here so I can see you all the time and I can touch you or something? And she's like, no. And that's real, but the reason she says no is because she's like thinking in her head, like, I probably wouldn't fit in here. I'm not blonde. Who else is blonde besides the 2 women that you saw before? Like, Christian's not blonde? the guy that he was in a meeting with is not blonde. How many other people work here that are not blonde? And you're like, oh, I can't work here, I'm not blonde. What the fuck? He walks her to the elevator though, and just wanted to do an elevator shout out too, because like it comes back, but well, not this elevator, but elevators, they come back, and he puts his hands on her shoulders, and she like gasps, oh my god, he put his hands on my shoulders. And I don't know, they leave and they do this whole like Christian Anastasia type thing, and then like the chapter ends with that. It's really dumb. In the beginning of chapter 2, she's leaving the building and she's like feeling really embarrassed. She's like, I can't believe that all that just happened, like so much happened. She's very flustered because she was also like quote unquote attracted to Christian during the interview and was like very off put by that, and all that stuff is going on. So she's feeling a little overwhelmed. But again, we're kind of trying to play this off as if she's just really attracted to this guy. And it's like, I think she's scared of him. I genuinely do. Like, I'm gonna just read you this line and you can tell me what you think, I guess, but or you can have your own opinion. But it says, I race for the wide glass doors and suddenly I'm free in the bracing, cleansing, damp air of Seattle. Raising my face, I welcome the cool, refreshing rain. I close my eyes and take a deep, purifying breath, trying to recover what's left of my equilibrium. Like, that just sounds like you're scared of him. That just sounds like you're about to have a panic attack, and like, attraction should not do that to you. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. That seems like the wrong description. Like, yeah, you tried, but you guessed the wrong answer. On the drive home though, she's like still thinking of Christian like this whole time. She's like, oh my god, I don't know how to feel about him. And she has this thought that Gray is more like a man twice his age. Why are we constantly trying to make Gray seem like this really mature guy, and she's like this really immature or like really inexperienced woman? Like, it's just, it feels like the answer to my question is infantilization. This happens so often. I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it. She gets back home, kind of has a brief conversation with Kate about how the interview went, and we kind of get this really chunky semblance of like trying to piece together Anna's life. It just reads really awkwardly. It's like a paragraph, a time skip, a few paragraphs, a time skip, and then maybe a page and a half, and then a time skip again, and it's just really awkward. And to me, it feels like we're trying to rush forward until we can get back to Christian. And personally, I don't want to get back to Christian. I'm scared of him. Anna might not say she is, but I will. There's a few important things that we get out of this. One of them is that Anna, works at a local hardware store named Clayton's. And I do think this is another way to make her like quirky, like not like other girls. There's a few other things that give that energy throughout this book. We also have like another little moment with Kate. And I wanted to mention this because of something that she said that again just made me mad. She's like, by Wednesday, she's much better, talking about Kate, and I no longer have to endure the sight of her pink flannel with too many rabbit's PJs. She's sick. She's using these pajama pants that are a comfort item for her that make her feel better, and you're gonna be like, ugh, so glad I don't have to see those anymore. Let me just tell you, Anna would hate to see me coming in my Cartman hoodie, my Cartman blanket hoodie. Yeah. We also have a first of a few phone calls with her mom, and honestly, they're just so two-dimensional. I just wish that we had done better dialogue so that you can read the dialogue and think, oh, they have a cute relationship, instead of Anna turning around and being like, I love my mom, isn't she the best, guys? We also are introduced to one of, if not the only person of color in this book, and that is Jose. He's Mexican, if the name did not give it away. We're gonna get to some more stuff about Jose in a little bit. I don't want to over-explain right now. Basically, they have a phone call as well. And so besides the fact that he's Mexican, we have two things that come out of this conversation that are important to remember about him. One is that he is, of course, in love with Anna. And two is that he is a first-gen college student, which is not like an uncommon thing, you know. But I think the fact that we chose that, and we chose to mention it, is a little, like, for our first introduction of him, when he's not an important character really at all, is kind of it's an interesting decision. I think he's being stereotyped, really, is what I'm trying to get at here. So, but we'll get to some more information as to why I believe that is. We also get a little, like, blurb on Anna's view of romance. I'll read it to you. So it says, Catherine often teases me that I'm missing the need a boyfriend gene, but the truth is I just haven't met anyone whom I'm attracted to, even though part of me longs for the fabled trembling knees, heart in my mouth, butterflies in my belly moments. Sometimes I wonder if there's something wrong with me. Kind of being a little serious here, I think this puts Anna into a really vulnerable position with Christian, and I wanted to take a moment to really explain my thoughts on that. I think this mindset, I think these kind of unrealistic expectations that she has is really dangerous and kind of an irresponsible way to write a main character. You're pairing with a guy who's, how old is he? I forgot. He's like 6 or 7 years older than her. I think 7. And has a lot more experience, right? Obviously, like, I don't think that kind of expectation is bad to have. I think it's really common, especially for women, to want that kind of relationship because we really romanticize it in the West here. And I don't want to say that that's not something that a lot of people have experienced, right? Like, I think it's totally valid. I think it's totally normal to go through a time where you want something really romantic like that and where you might have really ideal standards, you know? I think it's part of, you know, dating, part of experiencing things and learning what you like and what you don't like, right? So I don't want to blame Anna for having these thoughts, but when Christian comes along, and he's like the first guy she's ever been attracted to, it just makes it really dangerous for her. He wants something very specific out of her. He wants her to be his sub. And so she's willing to honestly bend backwards for this man because she's like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. You know, this is the kind of romance that I want, and he's going to give it to me. And it's like, he doesn't do that. And he doesn't tell her that either for a while until she is expecting it. And he's like, oh, sorry, that's not how it's going to work. He handles the situation in such a horrible way, and considering that he's supposed to be so smart and know what people want, that's why I feel like he's intentionally manipulating her. That's why I feel like this is grooming. But on to the actual book again. So Christian spawns in at Clayton's while Anna's at work, hard at work actually, eating a bagel, flipping through some papers, and he's just like, hey, did you miss me? And she's like, heart failure? What is he doing here? I don't know. Actually, really unfortunately, I do know. I do know why he's here. But I wish I didn't. But, Christian has come for some supplies. And Anna is the only one who can help him. To this entire situation, she says, taking a deep breath, I put on my professional, I've worked in this shop for years facade. I can do this. Let me just say, Anna, that if you have actually worked there for years, which you have, it's not a facade. If facade implies you are making something up, that like you are pretending you've worked there for years but you haven't. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But that doesn't make sense. Please use the correct words. It's not that hard. Now, the long-awaited moment. Let's take a look at Christian Grey's shopping list. First up, we've got cable ties. Second up, we have masking tape. Third and finally, we have rope. When I tell you guys that I almost lost it when I first read this scene, why is he buying equipment at the hardware store? Don't do that. Don't ever do that. What the hell? When I shared this with a friend, by the way, she told me that it sounded like he was gonna kidnap someone, and I would have preferred that. I really, really would have preferred that. Anna, of course, doesn't realize this. She doesn't know what he's doing. But she has this line. There's this line here that pissed me off so badly I must rant to you about something that no one cares about except for me and like maybe 2 other people. But that's okay. So it says, she's wondering, why is he here? That's very strange. And it says, and from a very tiny, underused part of my brain, probably located at the base of my medulla oblongata, near where my subconscious dwells, comes the thought, he's here to see you. Now, let me tell you, in my very bad southern accent, that is not how the brain works. Are you dumb? Like, are you literally dumb, Anna? What the fuck? The medulla oblongata is where your subconscious dwells? What? The medulla oblongata is located in your brainstem. Your brainstem has like 3 parts, all right? So like 3 layers. It's the middle. It's the middle. The base of your medulla, no matter where you look, no matter how you try and interpret that, is part of your brainstem. For people who aren't into neuroscience, who haven't taken a psychology class, which I'm not expecting that everyone's gonna know this, your brainstem does not really do much outside of just motor functions. Like, your brain is really complicated, I'll say that. So like we can't really confirm that like the medulla isn't where the subconscious is, but also using logic, we can deduce that's really unlikely because it does motor functions. That's what your brainstem is used for. Just to kind of give you an idea, subconscious is obviously a very different idea, but consciousness, we don't even know where that comes from, right? It's thought that your consciousness can be influenced or is influenced by your hippocampus and your amygdala, which the hippocampus is like memory related functions, and the amygdala has a lot to do with emotions and emotional functioning. So it makes sense that that's kind of maybe where a lot of your consciousness would come from. Your consciousness is going to be probably built in many, many different areas of your brain. I listed 2 of them, probably both of them, and a lot more make up your consciousness. Your subconsciousness is probably going to be formed in the same way. It just doesn't make any sense. Your subconscious is not going to be in your medulla oblongata. Like, what the frick, dude? Just tell me you want to make your main character sound smart, but you don't know anything about brains, and you don't want to research it. The other thing is that that's not how your subconsciousness even works. Like, your consciousness is like your lived experience in a lot of ways, right? It's like, I don't even know how to define consciousness. I took a philosophy class and it fucked me up, dude. Your subconscious, though, it like influences you in non-conscious ways. It impacts like your behaviors and your decisions and maybe your biases and stuff like that, right? It's not gonna talk to you. That's not how it works. Your subconsciousness can't talk to you, otherwise it's like breaking the rules of what the subconscious is. That's just getting into your consciousness. That's just like having a thought. Congratulations, you're having a thought. Like I said, you need to do more research on this stuff if you're gonna write about it. But honestly, I think that's the theme with this entire book. The whole shopping scene is supposed to be very full of tension. Like, oh my god, I'm helping him buy things to freak off, and like she's just really embarrassed the whole time. So much so that we get this banger of a line. I must be the color of the Communist Manifesto. What are we doing? What are we doing? Don't do that again. A few more things happen throughout the rest of the chapter, so just gonna try and speed run it a little bit here. So Christian offers to do a photo shoot for the newspaper. Him and Anna were talking, and she's like, yeah, me and Kate were just saying that we really wish we could have our own like original photo taken of you. And he's like, oh, call me anytime, baby girl. And she's like, great. And she gets his phone number. And then another white man spawns in. This one's name is Paul, and he immediately starts hitting on Anna. And he makes Daddy Christian very angry. But then we start to kind of see how unreliable a character Christian is, which I think ties into sort of this just like red flag behavior. Maybe it's a little manipulative, but it's just like, it's not like bad writing. It's just that he switches up his attitude a lot, and it really confuses Anna, and it's like kind of a interesting setup. But don't worry, because this strange and off-putting behavior is not enough to scare Anna away. In fact, she finally admits to herself that she's attracted to this man, and that's how the chapter ends. Moving on to chapter 3, and Anna calls Kate about the photo shoot and is like, yeah, Gray was just here and he like said that he'd do a photo shoot with us. And she's like, oh my god, that's great. She says something that's like kind of bossy, they hang up, and then Anna, like a very secure 21-year-old, sticks her tongue out at her phone, like, okay, stop acting like a child. After this, Paul comes back in and he's like, Anna, we should like go out or whatever. I don't know what he says. We find out this is a regular occurrence. So Paul regularly comes into the store. He is related to one of the owners of Clayton's, and he regularly comes in and will ask Anna out, and she says no every time. And he's like, one day I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. That's so like, oh, that's so gross. Don't do that. Time skip a little bit, and Anna's at home and she's talking to Kate, and she's like trying to plan out the whole photo shoot thing. So their regular school newspaper photographer is out of commission for some reason. I don't remember why. It's not really important. And they're like, oh, we should call Jose in to do it, because Jose is into photography and he doesn't normally photograph people, but they're like, you're kind of our only option, please. And he's like, okay, fine. They kind of force him into doing it. So Anna, after they confirm with Jose, calls Gray and is like, hey, we can do the shoot. Like, it's gonna work out. So when do you want to do it? So they schedule a time, and she's like, okay, we'll see you there. I'm all gushy and breathy, like a child, not a grown woman who can vote and drink legally in the state of Washington. Stop infantilizing yourself. Gray, of course, agrees to do the shoot, and I wish I could shoot him. And so you may be wondering, like, what's up with the newspaper? You know, it's kind of an interesting idea. There's this whole interview. There's the photo shoot. Like, how's that gonna work out? It doesn't matter. It's completely benign. This photo shoot is only really to show Christian getting jealous again because Jose is there and he's also in love with Anna. It's really, really just so pointless. And everything is sacrificed for the romance. The next day, though, they start the shoot, and Anna sees Christian walk in with his little linen pants, and she's just like going feral. Like, I'm gonna jump on it. Like, dude, it's okay. They're just pants. They're not gonna hurt you. She's just standing there watching, and he looks at her and she's like, crap, have I done something wrong? That, my friends, is evidence to me that she needs to move on and find someone better. But the photo shoot ends and Christian asks Anna out on a date, and she's like kind of hesitant to do this. And I'm just gonna read this interaction with you because I think it's worth doing that. So he asks her out to get coffee, and she's like, I have to drive everyone home. And he's like, Taylor. Taylor is his personal driver because he's rich. Are they based at the university? Taylor can take them. He's my driver. We have a large 4x4 here, so he'll be able to get to take the equipment too. Mr. Gray? I like to imagine that's how Taylor sounds. And he's just questioning, like, what's up? And he's like, please, can you drive the photographer, his assistant, and Mrs. Kavanagh back home? Certainly, sir. There, now you can join me for coffee? Question mark. She frowns. Mr. Gray, this really... Look, Taylor doesn't have to drive him home. And she looks at Taylor and he's just like, I get paid to be here. And then she looks at Gray and he's just like, I'll swap vehicles with Kate if you give me a moment. So she folds really fast, but she also doesn't really seem like she wants to go on this date even. Like, she seems really hesitant, right? Like, am I the only one who thinks that she doesn't really want to do this? But plot twist, she actually hates coffee because she's so quirky and silly. She goes to swap vehicles, as she says, with Kate, and she's like, Christian's kind of a freak. You might want to stay away from him because you're an innocent. I think it's great that Kate is trying to help Anna out, but this is like a really bad way to say that. The venture to the coffee place, though, is like very interesting. So first we have a couple in the elevator making out, and it's like 10 in the morning, maybe. Why are you making out at 10 in the morning? In an elevator, of all places. Like, there's just something about elevators. I told you they come back. They always do. Second, they hold hands, and Anna is like, oh my god, we're holding hands. I've never done that before. Okay. And third, we see a green light, a green man traffic signal, like the walk signal, and they're in Portland, okay? I fear I must break the news that there is no green traffic man signal in Portland. It just doesn't, it's not, wrong area, babe. I went to Italy this last summer. Great experience, by the way. And I did notice the walk signals were green men, but the walk signals in Portland are like little white men. So maybe I'll try and find a picture, like put it up here. They're not green, so that's like, maybe that's the UK. I know, like I said, I know Italy does that. I don't know if the UK is the same, but like maybe that's what's going on. But it's not universal. It is actually different in Portland. So, and I can say that because I've been there many times because I do live in the Pacific Northwest. That's not even to mention though, like earlier in chapter 2, she's thinking like, why is Christian in Portland? But he's in Vancouver. That's when he's at Clayton's, which I'm pretty sure is in Vancouver. He's actually not in Portland. He's in Vancouver. Vancouver is part of the Portland metro area, so technically it's part of Portland, but like if you live anywhere near Portland or Vancouver, you know that it's not considered like the same area. It's not considered Portland just because it's in Portland. Like, it's its own city, and it's referred to as Vancouver as if it's like a separate entity, because it is. The entire date, she's, shall we say, the color of the Communist Manifesto, and very corny, we'll say. And this woman, despite being written by a Brit, okay, drinks her tea in the weirdest way. So she drinks the Twinings English breakfast tea, of course, and it says, I pop the tea bag into the teapot and almost immediately fish it out again with my teaspoon. You're drinking water. The date, of course, though, goes very well, and it's basically just Christian interrogating Anna the whole time. He starts by being like, do you have a boyfriend? And she's like, no. And he's like, what about Paul? What about Jose? And she's like, I don't have a boyfriend. I'm not dating either of them. And it's lovely. She's kind of nervous, right? And so he's like, you seem nervous around men. I find you intimidating. You should find me intimidating. Okay. Why? Why? Because you like the 4-letter acronym? If that's why someone should be like intimidated by you, you're doing something wrong, or you are misunderstanding something. Let's keep it there. Christian says, I don't know, they're talking, and he's like, you're just so mysterious to me.
I can read every mind in this room, apart from yours.
Anna's not even mysterious. She's like literally an open book. So basically the entire date is supposed to be like an interview for Christian to decide if Anna would be a good sub, and sub is in submissive. And this is weird. But this is also why Anna is so confused about his behavior, because, you know, he's asking her all these like kind of private things, and I mean, it's a date, so like I guess that's kind of normal, but then she's kind of like, I don't know, but she's trying to be like, oh well, like what about you, tell me about yourself. And he's like, I don't want to tell you about myself. She even thinks, like, his eyes cloud with irritation, he doesn't want to talk about his family or himself. If you're going to ask someone for something, especially in a situation where you're supposed to be on equal setting, and then they ask it back, like, pretty naturally, you should be willing to answer that question, because you're the one who's like trying to do this back and forth. And again, like, according to his logic, if you're there for an interview and you're asking questions, then that person naturally has the right to ask you questions back. So I don't know what to tell you. Anna's doing everything right. You're just a weirdo. During the whole date though, okay, he's like, I don't do the girlfriend thing. And I don't know, Anna's just kind of like overwhelmed by that. She's like, I don't know how to feel about this whole thing. And she's not really sure what he means by that. To me, I think it's kind of obvious, but she's a little dumb, I guess. But, you know, either way, he's not properly communicating. But whatever. They leave the coffee shop, and Anna, in her thoughts, almost gets hit by a bike. No, not a motorcycle. A regular bike. A bicycle. Yeah. Don't worry though, because Christian pulls her into his big alpha safe arms and is like, Anna, you could have died. And she's like, oh, I'm so scared. They treat this situation like it would have killed her, and it would have hurt, I'm sure, especially if they're going fast enough, but like, I don't think you're gonna die from getting hit by a bike. Relax. Hey, relax, guy. But she's like in his arms though. That's the whole reason why we're doing this. And she's like looking up at him, and she's like, I want him to kiss me. And she even thinks, like, for the first time in her 21 years of life, she wants to be kissed by a man. And it's him, it's Christian. I have a problem with this because she's been kissed before. She said that in a later chapter. She's been kissed twice. Did she not want to be kissed either of those times? Is she okay? I don't like that Christian is treating this date like an interview. One huge emphasis of BDSM is consent, right? Like, consent is so important, and that cannot be overstated. So not only does she not understand the true intent of this date on his part, but she's just hoping for something very normal, like a regular romantic relationship. And Christian is probably aware of this. It's the fact that Christian is kind of, at least we're kind of given this impression that he's thinking, I shouldn't get involved with her. Instead of him staying away, though, he continues to pursue her very, like, consistently, you know? Like, he is the one who reaches out to her after the situation, which I will get to next chapter. But the whole thing is giving, like, I should stay away, but I can't.
I don't have the strength to stay away from you.
It's weird. Like, and we're supposed to kind of have this idea of him that he's very manipulative, that he knows how to get what he wants, and he knows how to take advantage of people and their wants. And so it's like, isn't he just manipulating the entire situation to get what he wants, which is that she's going to be a submissive? It's like really predatory. Like, if Anna had been like, oh, I want some kind of relationship like that, but she isn't looking for that. She wants a regular relationship, but Christian comes in and he's like, I'll teach you how to want this kind of relationship. Like, that is beyond predatory. And that is why I think this is grooming, like, at its core. Say hello to my dog. She's like, let me go. Here you go. Hi. My dog is now the co-star. She's laying down. So chapter 4 starts and she has this like, I want to be kissed revelation. And Christian does actually reject this. So some ways it's like he kind of rejects her, but it's more like in words than in like actions, if that makes sense. There's this line, I'm not the man for you. You should steer clear of me. And it's, again, like, it's like every warning that he gives her is just not well enough communicated. It's like she doesn't understand what he's saying that for. She doesn't know why he doesn't want to be in some kind of a relationship with her. So she's very confused, and I just don't like that. I don't like it. And it could have been kind of funny, kind of over the top, sort of like Twilight vibes, I guess, if he kept this like secret from her and then she had to find it out and revealed that you're dominant. But that's not what happens. Instead, it's just like he strings her along and then teaches her the ways of the 4-letter acronym. We have this line from Anna she's very devastated after this rejection. She's never been rejected before. And so she's in the car kind of having a little breakdown, and she's like, romantically though, I've never put myself out there, ever. A lifetime of insecurity. I'm too pale, too skinny, too scruffy, uncoordinated. My long list of faults go on. So I've always been the one to rebuff any would-be admirers. And then she talks about this guy in her chemistry class that she basically rejected. So I don't really like that. I don't know. To me, that doesn't feel very relatable. Please let me know if I'm just like not understanding a certain perspective. In my opinion, I don't feel like that's a very well written, insecure person. I feel like, if anything, a lot of the time when you have insecurities about the way that you look, it's common to want romantic relationships. It's common to kind of seek them out in even an unhealthy proportion because you're just hoping that those relationships will validate you, will make you feel less insecure. To be like, oh, I'm too insecure, I don't want anyone to date me, is a little like, I don't see the connection. It's like, it's not like she's saying, I'm really insecure and I know that, I recognize it, and I want to work on myself and feel less insecure so I can start a more healthy relationship. It's just like she's so insecure she doesn't ever want to date anyone, and it's like, that's not what you're saying though. You've basically just been saying that you've never been attracted to anyone before, so like, which is it? It's kind of like we're trying to write this insecure person, this relatable person, and it's just really an excuse to make her feel more innocent or to give her issues that Christian can come in and fix. After this little breakdown in the car, Anna drives back home, and skip forward a little bit, and her and Kate have finished their exams, so they're on the track to graduation, and she gets back and she receives her first gift of a decent amount from Christian. So he gifts her first edition Tom Hardy books of, I'm gonna butcher this name, it's like Tess of the D'Urbervilles? I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry guys. But it's like from, let's see, 1891. So really old and really expensive. And he sends her a quote with this that I'm just gonna read. "Why didn't you tell me there was danger? Why didn't you warn me? Ladies know what to guard against because they read novels that tell them of these tricks." So he sent her that quote with the books that were like roughly $14,000. This is just a really loaded situation. I do a little spark notes on this book, but essentially, there's the main character Tess. This is the book that he gifted her. So there's the main character Tess, and then there's two love interests. There is Alec and there's Angel. And both of these men are not like good. Alec specifically assaults Tess. It seems like the interpretation is maybe a little mixed depending on who is reading it, but basically he rapes her. And Christian is basically comparing himself to this guy. He's also kind of therefore putting Anna in the position of Tess. And that's really concerning. And the other thing is that this quote is like Tess being like, I wish I knew the dangers that men presented. You know, it could have protected me from the situation that I was in, which was, in this case, the whole thing that went down with Alec, I believe. He's admitting that he recognizes her as not understanding enough about men, that she's too inexperienced. And it's like, how are you still going forward with this relationship? Nana's like, I am going to send the letters back, or I'm going to send the books back. I don't want to own them. And that's totally fair. She's like, I'm going to send a quote back of my own. So these are soon to be graduated students, and they're 21. So what do? They go to a bar. And this is when we have Jose show up for the third time. And this one's loaded. Again, another loaded situation. Anna is dressed in her finest pair of jeans and Converse, and they're at this bar, and Jose is buying everyone margaritas. The second thing that Jose says is, Dios míos. I said that in the most white voice, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's like really bad. Not the Spanglish. So Anna gets drunk off these margaritas. She's kind of floating around the bar, and she's actually in line for the bathroom, and she calls Christian because she's bored, and she's also thinking about these books that she was gifted, and she's like, I'm gonna call him. So she calls him drunk, and is kind of like giggly and like on the phone like, oh my god, you're so strict, you're so domineering. And he's just like, where are you? And he's getting like so angry, like so like possessive of her, and she's just like, hee hee. Doesn't tell him where she is, and he's just being freaky like he is. She hangs up on him though, and she goes outside to get some fresh air. She's drunk. She's not feeling well. My dog wants to get let out. Hold on. She's drunk. She's not feeling very well, and she goes outside to get some fresh air. And this is when we have Jose assault her. He comes outside and he's like, I'm so into you, and he tries to kiss her, and she's very uncomfortable, and it's gross. And of course, what do you expect except for Christian to save the day? So Jose is the one person of color in this book, He's Mexican. He is a first-generation college student. He was pouring everyone or buying everyone margaritas. He says Dios mío, so he speaks Spanglish, basically. And he assaults our main character. What are we doing? It's so irresponsible. It's insane. That's all I'm gonna say. This is a really bad way to write a Mexican character or just a person of color in general. Like, it's really uncomfortable. Unfortunately, this is also when I realized who Jose was supposed to be. He's the Jacob of this story.
Bella! Where the hell have you been, Loca?
It took me way too long to realize that. I read the whole book, and then I was going back making notes, and it was this specific scene that I was making notes on when I was like, Jacob, is that you? Back to Christian. So yeah, he shows up and saves her. And let me just tell you what that means. He tracked her phone, drove to Portland, which he was still in Portland because he was staying at a hotel in Portland. Like, that's where they did the photo shoot and everything. He was still in the area, but he tracked her phone, found her location, drove to the bar, not because she was in any kind of danger, not because he was like, you know, you sound like something's going on and I should come help you, but because he was just being possessive over her because she was drunk at a bar.
I feel very protective of you.
The only thing I can say, if I'm trying to defend him, which I don't want to, is like, she didn't say that she was with anyone, but also, does she seem like the kind of girl to like go to a bar alone? Not really. She's like introverted and shy, you know, but who knows? Anna's even like, whoa, he is a stalker. He's a stalker. And she even is thinking like, but because it's him, somehow I don't mind. What are you talking about? When he shows up, he starts scolding her for like, I don't know, almost getting assaulted, like, or for getting assaulted. And she's like, he sounds like a middle-aged man scolding me like an errant child. What is up with the errant child shit? He wants to take her back to her apartment, and she's like, let me tell Kate if I'm gonna leave, you know, which is fair. But he's kind of like fighting her on it almost. He's like, oh, my brother Elliot, which, oh my god. Guys, I barely paid attention to the movie. I did watch it after I finished the book, and I barely paid attention because I was building my Twilight Lego set, okay? But Elliot was done so dirty in that movie. Oh my god. That haircut was devious. Okay, anyways, his brother's in there talking to Kate, and he's like, it's fine. Okay, still weird, but Anna insists on going in, and so she goes inside, and he's like, you need to at least drink water first. And he's kind of like forcing her to drink water. She's like, I'm okay, it's fine. And he's like, no, you're drinking water. And I don't know. I'm just going to mention this because this food and water drink thing becomes very consistent throughout this book. So this is kind of the first time we're starting to see it. So he's very controlling is kind of what we're saying. He's very, very controlling of her, even her food behaviors, specifically her food behaviors, because it's tied to his trauma, which I'm gonna get into. We did not write his trauma right, okay? So Kate's on the dance floor, Elliot's there too. They're like making eyes at each other like, yeah, we're gonna freak off later, if you know what I mean. And Anna unfortunately passes out before she can even say anything to Kate, and then that's how that ends. She wakes up the next day, she's in his bed. His hotel bed. He took her to his hotel instead of her apartment, not because he doesn't know where she lives. No, silly. Because he didn't want her to throw up in his car. Even though he's so rich, he could just buy himself a new car if it really bothered him that much. She's like waking up and he's just like, hey. And he's like shirtless, he's been like working out or something, and she's so embarrassed, and she's like, I take a deep breath and close my eyes. I feel like a 2-year-old. If I close my eyes, then I'm not really here. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. They have a very corny and horny conversation consisting of Christian scolding her and saying, well, if you were mine, you wouldn't be able to sit down for a week after the stunt you pulled yesterday. You didn't eat, you got drunk, you put yourself at risk. Is that victim blaming I hear? Christian also calls himself a Dark Knight, and if this isn't like some kind of conspiracy theory, it's like, okay, Twilight started it all, right? So we have Twilight, Edward. He's played by Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson goes on to play Batman. Twilight inspires 50 Shades of Grey, and now Christian is called the Dark Knight, which is Batman's name. Okay, not his name, but one of his names. I cracked the code, guys. Just kidding. If Batman was Christian Grey, I would cry. He also alludes to, but of course, we'll never tell. We'll never share yet. That he is a dominant by saying weird, out-of-pocket things that doesn't make any sense to Anna at all. Awesome. They both take their individual showers. Christian bought her clothes, and she puts them on, and Christian scolds her yet again, okay? This time for having wet hair out of the shower, for not blow drying her hair. Personally, okay, even if I was showering someone's place, if they have a hair dryer, I'm gonna ask before I use it, because I don't want them to be like, hey, are you using my hair dryer? And let me tell you, okay, he would hate me because I air dry my hair every night, and I think he would be scared of that because I'm just cool like that. She also was like, I want to pay back for the clothes, like, you know, kind of awkward that you bought them for me. And specifically, he had Taylor buy them for her, and she's like, it's kind of funny to imagine him buying me clothes. She wants to pay him back, and he's like, no. Let me spoil you, kitten. Ooh, okay, I mean, that's like the one thing out of this relationship that if I got involved with a dude like who was this spooky, I would definitely take advantage of his money. But maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just the economy. In this chapter, Anna is just like, she's just like ready. She's like, I want to have sex with you, like really bad. And Christian is like, no, we must wait. He's like, I will tell you my dark and evil secret, but after work and in my place in Seattle. My evil laboratory! Blair. Like, he could have just kind of alluded to the kind of relationship he wants. He could have just said, I only want a physical relationship, and then if Anna's like, oh, I don't really want that, I want a romantic one, they can just break apart and they can move on with their lives and go separate ways. That's totally fine. But he doesn't say that, so he keeps getting her hopes up, and she keeps thinking, oh, well, maybe he's into a romantic, you know, maybe he wants to have a romantic relationship with me. No, he doesn't. It doesn't have to be a big dark secret. Like, especially during the time, I get that BDSM wasn't really talked about very much. And I will say, like, from what I've heard, I mean, this book has really genuinely helped open up sort of a doorway for BDSM because it's talked about now, right? It's like kind of in a public sphere, but it's still just, it's really just badly represented though. I don't know. If we had treated it more normally, it would have been way better. Christian is talking to her. He's like, I'll pick you up after work, right? And we'll do the whole reveal. And he decides to summon his helicopter, which, want to guess the name? It's Charlie Tango. So he summons Charlie Tango to the area so they can helicopter over to his Seattle residence. And they have like a very sexually charged breakfast and leave. And like, they're in the elevator. Goddamn elevators. They're in the elevator, and he's like talking about earlier, like, we're not doing anything until you sign paperwork. And so they're in the elevator and he's like, F the paperwork. And he just like starts freaking out on her, like kissing her, you know. And what is it about elevators? He says that. He says something like that as they leave. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up. He literally says that. He says, what is it about elevators? Oh my god. I don't know. I don't know what it is about elevators, but it should be studied. And it should be stopped. So they get into Christian's car because he's driving her back and to her apartment. And they get in, right? And the music playing in his car assaults her senses. Do I need to call someone? Why is everyone assaulting you? It's not even sentient and it's attracted to her. Like, she's just different, man. But again, it's like Claire de Lune. Claire de Lune. But they get to the apartment. Elliot is there and they spent the night. Elliot and Kate spent the night, you know. And they're acting all lovey-dovey. I don't really care. It's kind of dumb. I'm gonna share a stupid line with you. Elliot continues to kiss Kate, sweeping her off her feet and dipping her into a dramatic hold so that her hair touches the ground as he kisses her hand. Hard. I read that wrong, I'm sorry. I swear I can read. Anna's literally looking at Christian like, why don't you do that to me? Like, I'm sorry, but you guys were just in the elevator and he was kissing you to the point that he was like, there was a tent in his pants. Okay, like, Elliot and Christian both leave, right? And so Kate and Anna are alone, and Kate is like, so did you? Like, asking if Anna and Christian got together. And she's like, no. I snap irritably, hoping that will halt the questions. We head back into the apartment. You obviously did, though. I can't contain my envy. Kate always manages to ensnare men. She is irresistible. Beautiful, sexy, funny, forward, all the things that I'm not. But her answering grin is infectious. This is so forced, guys. It's so forced. Like, Anna's told us about 4 different guys, including Christian. So we have Christian, Jose, Paul, and this guy from her chemistry class. Not to mention these 2 mystery men that she's apparently kissed before. And, like, they've all shown interest in her before, right? And, like, she literally just got kissed by Christian, and she's getting attention from men. She really is. 4 guys interested in you, 2 times you've been kissed. Hopefully you wanted to be kissed. You're doing better than me, girl. I don't know what to say. Literally, she just has said this so many times. She just didn't want to date anyone before. She just didn't feel attracted to anyone until Christian came along. So why are we trying to make it sound like she has this whole complex with Kate, especially, that, oh, Kate's so attractive. She attracts all these guys. I'm so jealous. But it's like, you literally attract a bunch of guys too. You just don't want to date any of them, which is fine. You don't have to date any of them. But why do you suddenly have a complex about not dating anyone? Like, at that point, it's just your L because you have had the opportunities to date people. But Anna does share. She's, like, talking to Kate still, and she's like, yeah, I am going to see him after work, though. Like, we're going to go to his place. And she's like, oh, okay. I mean, we should, like, clean you up. So she shaves her or something, or makes her shave. I don't know. Question mark. Anna goes to work. And Christian picks her up at the time they decided. They get in the car, and they're kind of talking a little bit. Talking about just like, oh, what'd you do today, you know? And he's like, I went hiking with Elliot. His thumb strokes my knuckles back and forth. My heart skips a beat as my breathing accelerates. So that's pretty intimate. That's a pretty intimate thing to do. I thought you didn't do the girlfriend thing. I thought you didn't do romance. Why are you sitting there stroking her knuckles like she's special to you or something? So they go to Charlie Tango, wherever he is. I don't remember, and I don't care. And he's like buckling her into the helicopter, and he's sitting there, and he's looking at her, and he's like, I love this harness. I want to tie you up. He's got more important tasks to focus on, because he's the pilot, of course, and the whole ride over, she's just like really and anxious. And she doesn't even like know what to expect, by the way, which I've said this so many times, but she doesn't know what she's getting into. And like, what are we doing? So they're talking in the helicopter, as you do, and she's like, do you always impress women this way? Come and fly in my helicopter, I ask, genuinely interested. I've never brought a girl up here, Anastasia. It's another first for me. The other first was sleeping in the same bed together. Oh, I forgot to mention, in the hotel, they slept in the same bed. He was not kicked to the couch. At that point, I'd rather I was kicked to the couch, but that was a first for him. He doesn't sleep with women. This kind of happens a lot throughout this book, honestly. Like, we've had 2 instances of this happening, 2 different firsts that have happened with Christian, and it really, to me, feels like we're trying to compare Anna's firsts to Christian's to kind of like make him, I don't know, like brought down a level. Like, oh look, he's experiencing all these new things too. Those are really different situations though. Like, him sleeping in the same bed as someone, not that big of a deal, especially when he's like whatever about it. Him taking a girl on his I keep wanting to say elevator, on his helicopter, not that big of a deal. You know, it's fine. Like, but her firsts is like very bigger deals. Okay, like she's about to lose her V card, if that was not obvious. Like, that's a pretty big deal compared to helicopter and bed. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's like we're trying to equivalate the situations, but they are not matching. There is a greater than symbol in this equation. I think this could be also, like, if we want to stretch a little bit, if we want to go back to the grooming thing, I do think this could be another situation where he's like trying to get her trust. Anna is like getting really nervous and she's thinking about this, and Christian is like, we'll be there in a few minutes. And he starts talking to air traffic control again. But I am no longer listening. I think I'm gonna faint. My fate is in his hands. Ugh, icky. Again, he just has so much control over her. It feels like that it's suffocating. But they land and he's like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. And it's like, yeah, he's like, you need to consent. You need to say that you're okay with this. But just like how everyone on Earth has the agree to the licensing and agreement things, everyone just presses agree because you can't press no or you're not going to be able to use the application of whatever is making you sign an agreement. Like, that's what's going on here, is he's like, say yes or no, and she's like, well, I have to say yes to get what I want, so I'll just say yes and we'll just see what happens. It's literally that episode of South Park. I think about that episode a lot. She agrees to be his sub because she just wants him. She's pressing the agree without reading the contract, without knowing what she's consenting to, and so she ends up getting involved in some stuff that is pretty bad. I mean, bad just because it's handled badly. I think he's aware of this too. He says this whole consent line, and then she responds and is like, I never do anything I didn't want to, Christian. And as I say the words, I don't quite feel their conviction, because at this moment in time, I'd probably do anything for this man seated beside me. But this does the trick. He's mollified. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what's happening, where she's pressing agree without knowing what the contract is even about. And like, there's an actual contract, so it's even more fitting. To properly consent to this situation, Anna needs to know what exactly she's getting involved with, and she's not able to do that at all. So they get inside the place, and of course it's very impressive. He's very rich, and there's even a piano. Claire de Lune, I hear it in the distance. And they have some wine, and she's thinking about the Tom Hardy books again, and she's like, why'd you give me these books? Well, you said you like Tom Hardy. Is that the only reason? It seemed appropriate. I could hold you to some impossibly high ideal like Angel Clare, or debase you completely like Alec de Iberville. I still don't know how to say that name. If there are only 2 options, I'll take the debasement. Is that what they're calling it these days. Mind you, like a refresher if you have forgotten, Alec rapes Tess. What? You want that? You want him to debase you? Is that CNC? I don't know. You think as like an English major too, she'd be like, I read about this book in class. I analyzed this book. That's kind of a weird thing to say, dude. Christian, though, is like, you need to sign this NDA before I can tell you anything at all.
Huh?
What do you mean, an NDA? A non-disclosure agreement. What? This is the definition of isolation, my friends. And this one is legally binding. Like the contract is not, because it's just an agreement between them for like what they're gonna do in the bedroom. But well, I shouldn't say the bedroom, I should say the red room of pain. My bad. This is, I guess, the reason why he didn't tell her anything about this before, but that's just so that he can tell her about like the red room of pain. He could tell her, look, I'm just looking for a physical relationship, and then if she's like, I'm into that, that's what I'm looking for too, then they can like go back to his place and have the whole official thing. But okay, that's not what we're gonna do. She's gonna have no idea at all. I'm so tired, because at this point she's still thinking, oh well, we'll, you know, have relations, but it'll be okay. No. She signs the NDA though. She's like, I guess if I have to get to you. And she also says, like, Christian, what you fail to understand is that I wouldn't talk about us to anyone anyway, even Kate. And this is the most bullshit line. This is the most bullshit line, because you know what she does? Like, maybe 2 chapters later, is she's like, hey, Christian, can I tell Kate about stuff? And then she's like talking to her mom later in the book too, and she's like, man, I really wish I could tell my mom about everything that's going on. And I think she even said something about, you know, it'd be kind of nice if I could tell my dad what's going on. It's almost like they just threw that out there to be like, look, she knows what she's doing. Like, you know, she's making an informed decision. She's thought about it. She's thought about the consequences. No, she hasn't. No, she hasn't. Okay, so she signs the NDA though, right? And she's like, does this mean you're going to make love to me tonight, Christian? No, Anastasia, it doesn't. First, I don't make love. I fuck hard. Second, there's a lot more paperwork to do. And third, you don't yet know what you're in for. That's the problem. He's like, come, I want to show you my playroom. And she's like, fuck hard. Oh my gosh, he's serious or something. Like, okay. You want to play on your Xbox? No, Anastasia, no Xbox. No PlayStation. Gum. Gulp. And then he like gets the key out, opens that baby up, and he's like, welcome to my playroom. The reveal, it is time. So she opens up the room she's like walking through, and as you can maybe imagine, I don't know, it's just jam-packed of like different equipment. She's walking through like, where am I? And it's I think it's kind of funny because he's supposed to be revealing this like secret, and he's just some dude who's into BDSM. It's the most anticlimactic fucking thing that could happen in my opinion. I'm sorry. I know this is supposed to be like a big deal. It's way cooler if you're like, I'm a vampire, then I'm a dominant. Okay, you have preferences outside of being vanilla. Congratulations. Do you want a sticker? It's almost amusing. Except for he's not just edgy like, I'm different. It's like, I'm dangerous. I'm sorry, but if you're dangerous practicing this, you know, 4-letter acronym, we have a problem, because it should not be dangerous. But Anna, of course, is like very overwhelmed, right? She doesn't really know what to say. And after a moment, Christian is kind of like nervous. It's almost kind of funny. He's like, what do you think? Do you do this to people or do they do it to you? People? And then he blinks. I do this to women who want me to. And I think it's so funny he had to be like women, not just people. Because remember, guys, he's secure in his sexuality. He's not gay. You're a sadist? I'm a dominant. But he is a sadist because he likes to see her in pain. And like, that's fine. Like, sadism is part of the acronym. Like, just say that you are. But okay. What does that mean? It means I want you to willingly surrender yourself to me in all things. Why would I do that?
What are you gonna do with me?
To please me.
Guys said, we're just gonna have some fun.
What? Love that he's straight up admitting that this is for his own pleasure. Okay. She's thinking about it all. She's like, what's up with all the punishment stuff? He's like, it's part of the incentive package. And she's like, okay, what do I get out of this? He shrugs and looks almost apologetic. Me. Imagine saying that and meaning it. Like, and having been a dom for years. For years! You've been a dom for years? And that's all you can say? To what do I get out of this kind of relationship? Have we learned nothing? Okay? Like, BDSM should be for the pleasure of both parties, right? Okay? Do I need to say that? He should say that. He should know that. Her reaction is kind of like lukewarm to all of this. Honestly, she's just kind of overwhelmed, doesn't really know what to say. She's in shock and very quiet. And Christian can tell right from the beginning, okay, that she's scared of getting hurt. And he has to reassure her, like, I won't hurt you. I won't hurt you. I guess it kind of makes sense that he has to tell her that because she doesn't know what to expect. But also, I don't know, the fact that she's like feeling like she couldn't be hurt, that she could be in danger, is like kind of weird. It's kind of like, does she really feel safe with you? So he kind of diverts her attention a little bit. He's like showing her around his apartment. He's like, this is the room that you would stay if you agreed to do this contract with me. And she's like, I have to live here? And he's like, yeah, you have to live here. Duh. And she's like, I don't want to live here. But they go out to eat and he's like, I'm fully aware that this is a dark path I'm leading you down, Anastasia, which is why I really want you to think about this. You must have some questions. Good questions, but also dark path. What? If you're doing your job as a dominant correctly, it shouldn't be dangerous or dark or scary. It should be a very safe thing to do. Not to mention, I'm gonna kind of spoil something that we get a little bit later in the book, but Christian's coping with his trauma through this kind of play.
Editor Ray here popping in to say that I have further educated myself on something that I was previously talking about, and I wanted to kind of put in a little bit more of my opinion here instead of saying what I had before. So BDSM is often done by people with trauma. This is because it can be a way to cope with trauma. So that can be like abuse that they've dealt with. It can sometimes be sexual abuse, right? It's not super uncommon for people who practice to have PTSD. And this is because it can make them feel safe and in control of situations where they have previously lacked agency. It can also just make them feel very safe and build trust. There's a lot to it. It's actually very fascinating. But it's handled in such a poor way, it's not even funny. Like, Christian emphasizes that he needs to hurt people and he needs to be in complete control. That's not safe, in my opinion. It's supposed to be a fun little activity, not what Anna goes through. Like, we'll get to the more specific stuff in part 2. Sorry, this video is already long. But the way that Christian uses this whole thing is more like an excuse to hurt women, and he uses it as a form of therapy for himself, which it could be used alongside therapy, but that, I don't know, he goes to therapy. It's mentioned at some point, maybe it's in part 2, but he does. So I don't know, does he even communicate what he's doing with his therapist? I genuinely don't know. Maybe like what he's trying to do, I using BD to cope with trauma, isn't bad, but his approach is, which is so obvious because of how Anna feels about everything. So again, we see this later, but she feels abused. If we want to talk about PTSD and trauma, the way it interconnects with schmink play, that could be so interesting. But instead, we have a man who just wants to completely control and hurt someone while she has little to no agency and gets in trouble when she challenges him, and is, my opinion, groomed into the entire situation to start with.
It's just really poor representation. This is not the way I think dark romance should be treating trauma or BDSM. He's all like, you need to eat, and he's being like very weird about it again. She's like, I don't want to eat. I feel kind of sick. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little scared. Fast forward a little bit, and he's like, I'm going to show you the rules. So this is not the contract, it's just the rules. And I'm going to read the first one, and the rest of them I'll just kind of like, we'll see. You'll see. So the first one is about obedience. The submissive will obey any instructions given by the dominant immediately, without hesitation or reservation, and in an expeditious manner. The submissive will agree to any sexual activity deemed fit and pleasurable by the dominant, excepting those activities that are outlined in hard limits. She will do so eagerly and without hesitation. So, hesitation, dare I say, is a very, very important body language, so that you can communicate non-verbally that some limits might be getting reached. That's how I'm interpreting this. If I'm wrong somehow, if it's normal to not want to have your submissive hesitate or something, like, I guess you can tell me, but that seems really, like, really intense. You'd think that would be like a important thing to keep note of, instead of, you know, being like, oh, you hesitated, you broke the rule, I'm allowed to punish you now. Because guess what, if you don't comply with the rules, it will result in immediate punishment. I'm just gonna sum up the rest of them. I really don't want to read these all. There's sleep, food, clothes, exercise, personal hygiene / beauty, personal safety, and personal qualities. So all of those are kind of as they seem, where he's basically just trying to control every single part of her life. Almost every single one of those rules is just, Christian can say what he wants you to do, and you have to follow them because you're his submissive, which is really intense, again. And I've heard that really intense BDSM relationships like this exist, where it's kind of 24/7, and you do need a contract, and it's very strict and stuff. And, you know, if that's something that you're into, that floats your boat, that's totally fine. But it's really concerning that he's wanting her to comply to all of this, despite her never having been in a relationship like this before. And she doesn't know what to expect. And she's not even allowed to hesitate. Like, it's a really problematic setup. I also question how accurate that is. I feel like likely my guess would be is that even if you're kind of doing some kind of a role play or dom sub dynamic all day 24/7, that you probably are still not going to be like, let me control everything about your life, though. You know, I think that's maybe a step too far. Again, if I'm getting anything wrong, if I'm like, I didn't research it because it's kind of complicated, and I feel like there's an extent where it's like, if you're not part of it, maybe it's harder to understand it, but it just seems like too much. Specifically for Anna, who's never done anything like this before. And he's not really willing to bend on these rules either. Her reaction to all of this, by the way, is just like hard limits, which I guess if you're a little overwhelmed and you don't really know what to say, sure. But yeah, and he's like, yes, what you won't do, what I won't do. We need to specify in our agreement, which is true. She brings up some of her issues with the rules though, and she's like, well, I don't really know about this, I don't know about that. And he's like, well, it's gonna work. You're gonna make it work. And the one thing they agree on is that she won't have to exercise every day, or like, no, it's not every day, but it's like 3 or 4 times a week. She's like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, well, you have to. And she's like, well, I feel like you're gonna keep me exercised, so it's fine. And he's like, you're right. And so he's like, fine, we can change it, and you can like exercise less than I want you to. So she's kind of like working through it, like, could I make this work? I don't know if I can make this work. Some of these rules, you know? Eventually though, he's like, let me share my hard limits with you. And I'm gonna read these to you. It's kind of a short list. No acts involving fire play, no acts involving urination or defecation and the products thereof, no acts involving needles, knives, piercing, or blood, no acts involving gynecological medical instruments. Sorry, put the pap smears away. I know you guys were excited. No acts involving children or animals, no acts that will leave any permanent marks on the skin, no acts involving breath control, and no activity that involves the direct contact of electric current, whether alternating, or direct fire or flames to the body. It is kind of a crazy list. First of all, breath control is like choking. That's like super basic. So what are you? Vanilla. Second of all, children and animals, it is actually insane to me that you need to specifically say you are not going to be involved with either of those. After he gives her his hard limits, he's like, well, now I want yours. It's like a cute little exchange. And she's like, well, I don't really know. And he's like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, what do you not like to do? And she's like, well, I've never done anything before. And he's like, you're a virgin? And she's like, yeah. Literally, it ends the chapter and he's like, why the f didn't you tell me? He growls. That was a really bad growl, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Roar.
When Anna is getting involved with Christian, she's not aware of this like danger, right? And like despite Christian giving her these warnings, and these are like really bad and unclear warnings, she does not understand why he's doing this, why he's saying these things, and continues to kind of like glorify him in her head. And I think if he had laid it out a little bit more for her, she might have been like, I'm not really into that kind of thing, you know? And maybe they could have not proceeded, or they could have proceeded with more informed decisions. It's just like the situation does not give agency to Anna at all. She's completely clueless the entire time. She's fueled by her insecurity and wanting to, you know, be in a relationship, in a very idealized relationship, which she does not get. And just all of this stuff it's depressing. It's sad. It's saddening. I want Anna to be happy. You know, I'd love if she found a good guy. It's just Christian's like not a good dude. And he's really gross. The difference between grooming and manipulation is that manipulation is trying to get someone to do what you want them to do. Typically for your own benefit, right? Grooming is having a very specific intention of what you want this person to do. Oftentimes it's sexual favors or acts. And so people, I mean, normally it's referred to with children that a groomer will shape and mold someone into who they want them to be so that they can take advantage of them, so that they can get them in a position where they get what they want from them. And that's literally what this book is doing. He's, you know, pulling her along and is like, oh, we could do these things. Oh, we could have sex together. We could maybe be in some kind of relationship. Doesn't communicate any of that. Is kind of slowly introducing her to his more like domineering side. You know, doing all of these things, sort of slowly easing her into this thing so that when he isolates her completely from the rest of the world in his little house in Seattle, it's actually very big, but his big house in Seattle, you know, has her sign an NDA and all of this stuff, he gets her to this point where he wants her so that he can be like, what if you do this with me? What if you do this with me? You could be with me in some kind of a way. And she's like, doesn't even know what to think. It is so predatory. And like, this is something that Twilight doesn't do, in my opinion. Bella was the one who researched Edward. She was the one who went to the computer, went to the bookstore, and was like doing all this research on vampires and stuff, and was like, oh, he's a vampire. And then she was the one who initiated the contact and was like, Edward, you're coming with me. We're going to the forest. We're having the reveal. But in this, Anna's completely unaware until the last minute. He has so much more power over her than Edward does. Not to mention, where he reveals this, it's in his house, right? It's not even neutral ground. Like, there's just so much wrong with this situation. I was trying to do this in a more like a condensed format, like I trying to get straight to the point, but I'm kind of all over the place. I'm just trying to say that this is really grooming. I think he knows what he wants from her from the beginning. He honestly says, like, right away, when I saw you, I thought you could be a good submissive. He's like, yeah, from the beginning, I've wanted you to be my submissive. So he's basically just been manipulating her and using what she wants out of this relationship to pull her along into this other relationship that he wants. So if that's not grooming, I don't know what is. Hello? It's a new day, and I'm filming more again. Chapter 8. So, the beginning of chapter 8, Christian's like really upset. He's like, how could you not tell me that you're a virgin? Anna's sitting there, and she's like, why am I feeling guilty? Why is he so mad? Is that more victim blaming I hear? And she's like, well, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. It never came up. And he's like, well, you know a lot more about me now. I knew you were inexperienced, but a virgin. He says it like it's a really dirty word. Hell, Anna, I just showed you. He groans. May God forgive me. Have you ever been kissed apart from by me? Of course I have. And she's like, I try my best to look affronted. Okay, maybe twice. And Christian is like, and a nice young man hasn't swept you off your feet? I just don't understand. You're 21, nearly 22. You're beautiful. And so he's just having a crash out over here, and Anna's sitting here like, oh my God, he called me beautiful. Sort out your priorities right now. What the heck? He's like, how have you avoided sex? Tell me, please. And she just sits there like, guess I'm just pretty talented. Yeah. He's like, well, if we're gonna do anything at all, I feel like you should lose your V card because otherwise you're not gonna know what to expect. You're not gonna know what you like, which I guess. But she's like, well, I thought you didn't, make love. And he's like, I can make an exception or maybe combine the two. I'm talking about like making love and fuck. We'll see. I really want to make love to you. Please come to bed with me. Always making exceptions for Anna because she's just so special. She's just so special. I think it's kind of unhealthy to be breaking boundaries like that too. Like, I mean, if you don't want to have a certain kind of relationship, stop letting that relationship happen, because then the thing is like, if you're breaking your own boundaries, I think that typically can make you feel like, oh, well, I'm doing that, so you should also break your boundaries, when in reality, that's not how it works. So I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of setting it up for failure. Like, we're just doing some things that I don't think is going to work long term. She agrees though, and he's like, you are one brave young woman. He whispers, I'm in awe of you. Why? Because she agreed to have sex with you? Like, down, boy, down. It's okay. And I'm just gonna say, there's not a lot about the smut that really bothered me in this book. Like, it's not like it's good. It's just not so horribly bad that I feel like I can sit here and read lines and be like, what am I telling you? It's so bad, All I can say is that there's a few things that are kind of annoying. There's a lot of it that's just really basic. So I'm not really going to get too, detailed with the smut scenes. But I will say one line that drove me absolutely crazy throughout this entire book was the, like, her muscles clench deep in her stomach type of thing. Like, I just really hate that description. I just really hated that. She's feeling a little awkward, a little bit uncomfortable with being undressed in front of him, and I don't know. She has her hair up. He undoes her hair, like undoes the ponytail, and he's like, I like brunettes. I can smell the self-insert. So he starts commencing the foreplay, and it says he grasps my foot and undoes my Converse. Who says I can't wear my Converse? Pulling off my shoe and sock, I raise myself up on my elbows to see what he's doing. I'm panting, ... wanting. He lifts my foot by the heel and runs his thumb up my instep. It's almost painful, but I feel the movement echoed in my groin. I gasp, not taking his eyes off mine. Again, he runs his tongue along my instep and then his teeth. Okay, why? Why does he like feet? I don't want to read about that. A little bit later, he's like, show me how you pleasure yourself. What? I frown. Don't be coy, Anna. Show me, he whispers. I shake my head. I don't know what you mean. How do you make yourself come? I want to see. I shake my head. I don't. To each their own, but she is 21 and this inexperienced. Why, like, is this not screaming infantilization to anyone else? Okay, so they start doing things and he's like, keep still. So she can't hesitate, and now she can't even like move around. That's just a sign that she's like enjoying it. She's just over here like overheating, having some heat stroke or something, like that Cupcake song. And he's just like touching her, feeling up or whatever. And she arrives from nipple play. Cool. He then is in position, ready to move in for the attack. And it says, "Arg," I cry as I feel a weird pinching sensation deep inside me as he rips through my virginity. What? This is just gross, like, at this point. Like, I don't even know if I can say that that's, like, wrong. It feels gross. I just don't like it. And it's like he literally just like he slam dunk, okay? Went just like that. Like, be a little gentle. She's never even done anything with herself. Like, why are you just like going for it? I don't know. I just feel like, especially first time, why not just be gentle, you know? I don't know. Because he doesn't make love. He fucks hard. Youch. So, they both arrive after this, and she wants to go again because it was so great. And he's like, demanding little thing, aren't you? Ew. He also is at one point, like, using his fingers, and he takes them out, puts them in her mouth, and she tastes blood. And I just feel bad for her. We also have the amazing lines, "You are so sweet," like with the periods, and then "you, period, are, period, mine, period." Okay. They finish up. I don't think there's aftercare at all in this book, but there's definitely none this time around. And then, you know, they both go to bed. And Anna wakes up at some point throughout the night and hears him playing the piano. So she goes outside of the room and he's in the piano room. I don't know where the piano is. And he's playing, and it's so sad and tragic. She listened to him for like maybe a little bit, and then he notices it and he's like, we're gonna go to bed. There's blood on the bed. She is thinking as she drifts off into sleep, Christian Grey has a sad side. Anna wakes up the next morning, Christian's still asleep. She's like looking at him, just admiring his sleeping face. And she's like, it's tempting to reach out and touch him, but like a small child, he's so lovely when he's asleep. I don't have to worry about what I'm saying, what he's saying, what plans he has, especially his plans for me. Is that not some kind of a sign that you're in some kind of a relationship that's just not healthy? Like, one part of being in an abusive situation is feeling like you're constantly on eggshells, feeling uncomfortable a lot of the time. And I feel like this is her kind of saying, normally I'm uncomfortable with him, but when he's not conscious, it's fine. Like, that, to me, that just sounds like we're just not setting things up in a healthy way. So she gets up to go to the bathroom though, and she has a little pep talk with her subconscious, and then she's like, oh my god, Kate, I forgot about her. And so she calls Kate, leaves her a voicemail, and she's in the bathroom, and it says, I find 2 welcome hair ties at the same time in my bag and quickly tie my hair into pigtails. Yes, the more girly I look, perhaps the safer I'll be from Bluebeard. Do I need to explain why that's just weird? I will give context though, if you don't know what Bluebeard is. It's like a French fairy tale. It's about this guy who's called Bluebeard, and he basically just had a bunch of wives and killed them all, and he keeps them all in like his secret room. And it's there's more to the story because it's about like one of his wives and her discovering it and everything, but I don't know, you can look it up if you really care that much. Just know that Christian has been compared to a rapist, and now he's being compared to a murderer. Either Christian is just actually evil, or the author just thinks that if you do BDS, you're evil. I don't know. But she goes into the kitchen, she's hungry, she's making something to eat, and she, plugs in her AirPods, or not AirPods, but or earbuds, whatever they are, and it's like dancing around, listening to music, making food. And she is also like recalling the whole thing, so she's now turned on again, but she's listening to a song about misfits, and let me read this line. This song used to mean so much to me. That's because I'm a misfit. I've never fitted in anywhere, and now I have an indecent proposal to consider from King Misfit himself. Okay.
Weird. I'm a weirdo. I don't fit in.
But yeah, so she's kind of dancing around a little bit, and she turns around and Christian's just there. Stop spawning in. I mean, at least this time he was like in the vicinity. So he comes into the kitchen and he starts teasing her, because she's dancing and, being silly, whatever. And let's see, she's just kind of embarrassed, whatever. And then he gets closer to her, and it says, in a moment, he's beside me. He gently pulls my pigtail. I love these, he whispers. They won't protect you. What does that mean? Stop being a freak. Stop being so creepy. I don't even, stay away from me. I'm getting a restraining order. So they sit down to eat breakfast.
Some nice pocky and ramonade.
And they're talking a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I want to continue your basic training, which is having sexual activities that are vanilla, I guess. He wants her to use her mouth. Yeah. And she's sitting over here like, yes, please. She decides to stay until the evening. He also, gets all pissy about the food thing again. It happens so many times. It's obnoxious. But he starts cleaning the dishes. She goes off, and she ends up calling Kate. And Kate's kind of pressing her for details. She's like, spill the tea. Tell me everything that happened. And she's like, I actually can't tell her anything because I signed an NDA. I mentioned this a little bit before too, but this is like when Anna goes up to Christian and is like, hey, could I maybe talk to Kate about some of the things that have happened between us? And he ends up agreeing a little bit later, but again, like, we're supposed to think that she thought this through, but here she is like literally, I think 2 chapters later, asking, but can I maybe talk to Kate? Can I maybe already break the NDA that I signed? You didn't think it through. You just didn't. I'm not going to tell anyone. So it's bath time and they're going to take a bath together. So she's embarrassed because, again, she's getting unclothed in front of him. He looks at her and he's like, Anastasia, you're a very beautiful woman. The whole package. Don't hang your head like you're ashamed. You have nothing to be ashamed of, and it's a real joy to stand here and gaze at you. The self-insert. It's in the air again. It's such a weird thing to say. Like, who says that in real life? What kind of guy, what kind of partner that you're with at all is gonna be like, you're the whole package, don't be insecure. Thanks, you just fixed my issues. Of course the bath is like super freaky though, and so they get in though, and this I'm genuinely still confused about this. So it says he climbs in behind me. The water rises as he sits and pulls me against his chest. He places his long legs over mine, his knees bent and his ankles level with mine, and he pulls his feet apart, opening my legs. I gasp in surprise. His legs over mine, his knees bent, his ankles... What is happening? I don't understand. I don't know. If I need like a visual, someone send me a visual. I don't know. So he takes a washcloth and he's cleaning her a little bit, but then he just starts going downward, down south. And all I can think about is there's certain things you just don't want to put there. And soap is one of them because there's a pH, there's a whole system for cleaning itself out. Don't put soap down there because he's like rubbing her with it, so like it's gotta be getting up there. I don't know, that's don't do that. So they're kind of doing things, right? And he stops. He's, you know, you can't arrive too soon, and so he's like, I think you're clean enough now. Why are you stopping? Because I have other plans for you, Anastasia. And she's thinking, that's not fair. Turn around, I need washing too. Oh, turning to face him, I'm shocked to find he has his erection firmly in his grasp. My mouth drops open. I want you to become well acquainted, on first name terms if you will, with my favorite and most cherished part of my body. I'm very attached to this. What's its name? Don't be shy, tell me. So she starts doing as he has instructed and stroking it, and she starts using her mouth, kind of out of curiosity, I think, but whatever. So first, he grabs her pigtails when she's going down on it. Just grabs them. And then she calls him, in her head, her Christian Grey flavored popsicle. Oh boy. She doesn't have a gag reflex. And then, of course, she's just like the best at sucking popsicles, despite never doing this before. She also is thinking, my inner goddess is dancing the merengue with some salsa moves. Thought I just mentioned the inner goddess at this point. So I haven't talked about her before, but basically inside of Anna's mind, it's like a council member, okay? So there's Anna, there's her subconscious, which did not just go away after the medulla line, and then there's the inner goddess, and they all kind of are different. I don't know. It's sort of like the devil and the angel on the shoulder type thing, except for it's different names. It's really cringy, and I really hate it. And the inner goddess is mentioned way too many times within this book, and every single time it makes me want to crawl into a ball and die. So after he is fully pleasured, okay, He's like, well, let's go to the bed. I owe you an orgasm. And she's thinking, orgasm? Another one? You sound like a dog in training. Like, I don't know, that's just, I just don't like her inner dialogue. Really don't. So he's tying her hands up above her head, and he puts his hands like over her pigtails and is like, you look so young with these. Please stop. Please. So tired. Oh my god. And then there's more feet stuff too. It says, he grabs my left foot, bends my knee, and brings my foot up to his mouth. Watching and assessing my every reaction, he tenderly kisses each of my toes, then bites each one of them softly at the pads. When he reaches my little toe, he bites harder and I convulse, whimpering. He glides his tongue up my instep and I can no longer watch him.
Look at you, you're a genius.
He uses his mouth this time though, and there's a lot of really bad lines. Just to give you an idea, okay, here are some of the lines we get. I love that you're so for me. Come for me. A lot more along that vein. So they finish their activities, and she's like, the wonder that he's introduced me to. It's beyond anything I could have imagined. And he wants to take it further, so much further, to a place I can't, in my innocence, even imagine. Grooming, I yell as they drag me to the asylum. Then his mom shows up. She doesn't like walk in, she's just there and wants to talk to him, so end of chapter. So he forces Anna to meet his mom. She's like, I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I don't have clothes that are fresh and the whole situation's kind of awkward and I'm just not really comfortable with it. Literally it says, oh no you don't. You can wear something of mine. I will expect you in that room in 5 minutes, otherwise I'll come and drag you out of here myself in whatever you're wearing. Okay. Okay, buddy. Okay, buckaroo. Basically, his mom's like a super basic, rich woman. She immediately loves Anna because Anna's so great. And Jose calls during this meeting and he immediately is speaking Spanglish again. Again, Jose just kind of exists to make Christian jealous. So that's what we get out of this, is Christian starts getting jealous and kind of shuts down again because that's what he does. After they kind of work it out, whatever, Anna wants to call Kate. So she doesn't explain that, but she's like, I'm gonna go make a call. And he's like, the photographer? I don't like to share, Miss Steele. Remember that. And leaves before she can even explain. And she's thinking, holy crap, I just wanted to talk to Kate. I want to call him after him, but his sudden aloofness has left me paralyzed. What happened to the generous, relaxed, smiling man who was making love to me not half an hour ago? Again, it's like such a red flag. He's gross. They're kind of on their way out. He gives her the contract. He's like, look it over, do some research. And during the elevator ride down, instead of making out, she gets permission to talk to Kate officially. After that, he's like, the sooner I have your submission, the better, and we can stop all this. Stop all what? You defying me. She doesn't even understand. She's like, defying you how? She doesn't even understand what she's doing wrong, and I just think that that's, you're not communicating something. You're not. They get in the car and they're driving back, and they stop at a place in like Olympia, Washington, and they are having lunch here. And he is talking to her about how his mom thought that he was gay too. Girl, just come out. It's okay. You're safe here. Safer than Anna is with you.
Hey, be who you are.
He's like, I've never slept with anyone, never had sex in my bed, never flown a girl in Charlie Tango, never introduced a woman to my mother. What are you doing to me? I don't know, and I don't care. To kind of change the topic, Anna's like, what's vanilla sex? Just straightforward sex, Anastasia. No toys, no add-ons. And she's like, oh, thinking this part she doesn't say out loud. I thought it was chocolate fudge brownie sack that we had with a cherry on the top. You're so funny, Anna. And she asks like, well, have you always like done this kind of stuff, you know? And he's like, sort of. One of my mother's friends seduced me when I was 15. He was a victim at 15, forced to be a submissive for like 6 years. And then after that, he became a dominant. So that's his part of his backstory. And then they're talking a little bit more. He says, in fact, I've never wanted anything as much as I want this to work, talking about their relationship. She says, or she thinks, his burning sincerity, his longing is reflected in his eyes. This is fundamentally what I don't grasp. Why me? Why not one of the 15? Oh no, will that be me? A number? 16 of many? So we're starting off on so many insecurities. I mean, Anna already has a lot of insecurities, and now she's insecure about the relationship that hasn't even started yet. That's like just getting going. Like, that's just not good. That's just, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you can't be secure in your relationship, you're gonna have a lot of issues. Let's just put it like that. He also says, I'd give anything to know what you're thinking right at this moment. Edward, is that you? Hi. They pay, they're leaving. He's like, come. Taking my hand in his, he leads me to the car. This contact, flesh to flesh, it's what's so unexpected from him. Normal, intimate. I can't reconcile this ordinary tender gesture with what he wants to do in that room, the red room of pain. I mentioned this before when he like put his thumb like over her knuckles, how like that was really intimate too. And again, like he acts intimate at times. He does things that are like kind of romantic at times. So he just gives her really mixed signals. I just think it's really frustrating that he says he wants a very specific relationship that is not romantic, but yet acts so intimate. Like, to me, that kind of switch up feels like a manipulation tactic. You know? So he then drives her back home. They say goodbye. She's a little sad. She's like, oh, I have to say bye to my Christian poo. And she cheers herself up by being like, by the way, I'm wearing your underwear. And then like rushes into the house before he can say anything. And he's just like, jaw drop. So there are like two updates that actually matter here, which is that Anna calls Kate and she's officially rejected him. And they're gonna meet up on someday, talk about it a little bit, have some coffee. And I mean, it's kind of like, it's her place to forgive him, I guess, but also it's kind of frustrating how it feels like her experience is just not even taken seriously, even by herself, you know? I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna have something like that happen to a character, you have to talk about the consequences of that, which is going to be a very like heavy mental burden. It's a hard thing to go through, especially with a friend, especially with someone you trusted. But the other thing that happens is that we learn that Anna has an interview, or I think a few interviews, with some companies, I think 2 companies in Seattle. She's trying to get a job at a publishing house. So the chapter ends, her and Kate have a little girl time, and Kate goes off to call Elliot, I think, or maybe to work on her valedictorian speech. I don't remember, actually. It doesn't matter. And Anna's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna look at the contract. It's like 10 pages long. It's all written out. I think it'd be kind of interesting to go through and like really break it down, but I don't want to do that because it's gonna take way too long. I also don't feel like I know enough about BDSM to do that and like feel like I'm doing it justice, but I'm gonna go through a few things. The contract lasts 3 months. They have allotted times to meet together and do play. A lot of the contract is basically just saying that the submissive is supposed to do everything the dominant wants, which that part feels a little like weird to me. I don't know. There is some eyebrow raising things throughout the contract that I'm not going to get into. I think a lot of the things that Anna takes issue with are the things that I take issue with. So I'll just kind of mention it as it becomes relevant. Like the contract itself is kind of like whatever. I think it's more Christian's actual behaviors that are more upsetting. So while the contract would be interesting to look at if I felt like I knew what I was talking about, I don't think it's really worth doing when it's really just Christian's behaviors that feel the most concerning throughout the book. The one thing I do want to talk about though is the safe words. So I have like three main issues with the safe words. One is that there's two safe words, okay, which feels problematic to me. This is probably my biggest issue, is that I don't understand why there's two safe words. The safe word, for people who don't know, just in case, is a word that you say as a stop, I'm serious, stop doing whatever you're doing. It's meant to break the play and to break the mood, to protect yourself. It's for your safety, as safe word implies, right? So I don't get why there's two. The first one is red, and red is like the full-on stop. The other one is yellow, and that's like slow down. I don't think that that's specific enough. I don't think that slow down makes sense. What does that mean?
Editor Ray coming back to say, I feel like I didn't properly explain myself when I was recording this, so I wanted to be a little bit more specific on what I was bothered by. The issue is not having two safe words, because that can happen in play and it can be done well and it can be a good safety precaution. But the issue is I feel like he's not specific enough with how she should use them, especially considering they never talk about safe words, so he can't properly explain the different usages for them. This is what it specifically says, by the way. The safe word yellow will be used to bring to the attention of the dominant that the submissive is close to her limit of endurance. So, like, what does that really mean? Like, which limit? What do you do in that situation? Do you slow down or do you stop? Because if you stop, then you wouldn't need another safe word. I just think that it's not like properly explained to Anna. So maybe it's assumed that you would slow down, but he doesn't say that he will slow down. And I think in a contract where you're explaining safe words, it's probably better to just say what you're going to do, even if it's over explaining. So I just think it's not specific enough. Like, what does it mean that she's reaching her limits? How is that going to affect your play? And I'm going to be completely honest here. I think the reason that this sits so wrong with me too is just because I don't trust Christian to respect a second safe word. Like, based on his other behaviors in this book, I feel like he's so self-centered, and the reason why he wants to do play is solely for his benefit. So why would he stop? What about him so far has made it seem like he would respect that? If this was a better book and if he was a better man, then I might not have been bothered by it, but it bothers me so much because I just don't like him. I just sort of feel like he doesn't really care about her limits as much as he claims that he does, and that he would keep pushing her even if she used the slow down word. Let me know if I'm the only one who's bothered by this. Maybe it's totally fine and I'm just really biased, but back to the other reasons.
The other thing is that the words themselves, I said already, they're red and yellow. I know why, because it's like traffic lights, but I don't really like those words either, especially because like safe words are supposed to be kind of weird, right? Like I mentioned before, they're supposed to break the mood. So if it's a word like red, I don't know, but red is kind of a word if you think about it. Like it's the color of passion, and it's used in a lot of, I'm just thinking of like the I see you red song from, I know it's not from, but it was in 365 days. I'm thinking of that. And red is, again, it's just very romanticized, it's very sexualized. I think it's a little bit of a bad word to use personally. Like I feel like it doesn't quite break the mood the way that safe words are supposed to, because they're supposed to be almost kind of silly, like pineapple or something. I don't know why every time I think of a safe word, my mind automatically goes to pineapple. But, and then the other issue that I have is that I don't think that only one person should come up with a safe word. I'm pretty sure that every partner you're with, you should come up with one together. That just makes more sense to me. Again, if I'm getting anything wrong here, like, feel free to let me know. But I just think that it's probably a smarter and safer idea if you guys come up with a safe word together. But he's just like, no, you already have these safe words. These are the ones we're going to use. Like, okay. As I mentioned, though, Anna does, have some problems with the contract, which is good. I'm glad that she's thinking a little critically, at least a little, about everything. We have an iconic inner goddess line, "You're welcome." I'm going to start reading some of them now that you know about her. She's like, "Please, let's do this. Otherwise, we'll end up alone with lots of cats and your classic novels to keep you company." Why do you think he's the only man that's ever going to be in your life? I wish I never met him. My inner goddess shrugs her head at me. She and I know it's a lie. I have never felt as alive as I do now. This is like the back and forth that goes on in her head this whole book. Do you want it? Do you not want it? I don't know. I just live here. I feel like the fact that she's interested in it is like, we could work with that. But instead, we get Christian being a freak. And he pushes her so far in such little time, to be honest. I think that's why it's so hard for her to transition, because it's too much for her. I've been kind of saying this too, but it's like she just acts like he's the only person for her. If something's not clicking into place, if it's not doing it easily, if you're fighting yourself and whatever else, like, maybe that's just a sign that it's not a good idea and that you guys shouldn't force it to work. All I can say is the things that I keep saying. Why is he so bad for liking BDSM? Like, he's bad because he's doing other things, but why is it this thing that's so horrible? It's just a preference, and it's not that uncommon, especially now. I think we talk about it so much more often, but it's just really uncomfortable. I really hate this book. I really hate the way it talks about things. The other thing is like, Anna's kind of almost disrespectful, and I get that she doesn't really properly understand it, and she doesn't have someone who's properly communicating things to her, who's properly educating her, I guess, on BDSM, so she doesn't really know what to think. But I don't know, sometimes she just seems like really disgusted and almost condescending. The next morning, though, she wakes up and Christian has bought her a computer, and it's so that she can research BDSM. That's it. Just a little context here is that she did not want this computer. He basically forced her to accept it. She's like, I can just figure out a different way to research it. It's fine. And he's like, I'll just buy you a computer. And she's like, no thanks, I don't want you to buy me anything else. You're spending a lot of money on me and I'm not comfortable with that. And he's like, consider it a loan then. And then later he even says like an indefinite loan. But with this computer, we've unlocked a new format of reading, and that is the emails, which is really exciting. So they go back and forth with the emails a little bit. I'm not going to read it because it's unimportant, but she, after this conversation, is thinking, I'm like a small giddy child, because she's so excited he emailed her. This is literally less than a page long, and it's the conversation, the whole like meeting with Jose, and this is the line we get. Anna, he smiles his dazing, toothy, all Hispanic American smile, and I can't be angry with him anymore. What? You can't be angry with him anymore that he assaulted you because he smiled at you and is Hispanic American? So Anna is like, I need to think. I need to get out and think the next morning. So she goes for a run, And that's fine, okay? But she puts her hair into pigtails again. Stop it. Stop with the pigtails. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. And then it also says, Snow Patrol blaring in my ears, I set off into the opal and aquamarine dusk. First of all, those are like two very different stones, so I'm having a hard time imagining what opal and aquamarine skies look like. But okay. The second thing, don't do that to Snow Patrol, okay? Get them out of your ears. You don't deserve that. She's thinking about everything though, and she just cannot wrap her head, her little tiny brain, her little tiny medulla oblongata around why Christian likes BDSM. And she's thinking, I'm plagued by one question. Why is he like this? Is it because he was seduced at such a young age? I just don't know. He's still such a mystery. Have you heard of having preferences? They're pretty cool. And then Anna gets back from her run, and Kate has come back from shopping, and it says Kate, will look fabulous in all of them, talking about the things that she bought, it's clothing. Yet she still makes me sit and comment while she tries on each and every one. There are only so many ways one could say, you look fabulous, Kate. Oh my god, this part is so dumb. So, and then Anna sends an email to Christian and is like, okay, I've seen enough. It was nice knowing you. Thinking that that's funny? That that's some kind of a joke? Like, how is he gonna read that except for you're serious? I don't understand. And at this point, he's been very, very responsive to all of her emails. He's been responding basically immediately, right? And after she sends this, he doesn't say anything. And she's like, oh, oops, maybe he's just busy. And then she kind of is trying to not think about it. She puts her headphones in, listening to Snow Patrol again, and she pauses at one point, okay, turns around, and Christian's there. He keeps spawning, and it's making me angry. I'm gonna lose it. Why are you like this? Why are you like this? Stop. He wants to talk about the email though, and he's saying a bunch of shit. She's just like listening to it, and then it says, finally, my medulla oblongata recalls its purpose. I breathe. So you know what the medulla oblongata does, and you're gonna sit there and say that it forms your subconscious? Why are you dumb? What is happening? How do you understand what the medulla does and you're still sitting there like, yeah, that's where my subconscious is? He's just like, well, I thought I should come and remind you how nice it was knowing me. And he takes out her pigtails, but they're braids. And once again, I'm confused. Is this a British thing? Like, do British people call like twin braids? I don't know what we even call that in the US, but is that called like pigtails in London or wherever the author is from? Because I thought they were just regular pigtails this whole time, and now I'm questioning myself. His appearance leads to another spicy scene, which I don't really want to go into a lot of detail again. Basically, he ties her to like her bedpost, and then he puts her shirt like over her head so she can't see anything. Ends up going out to talk to Kate. She's the one that let him in the apartment, but he is like shirtless, I think, but he gets a bottle of wine, comes back, pours the wine into her belly button, and then does things with her. How f***ed up is it that Anna sent him a letter that he interpreted it, or an email, that he interpreted it as, I'm gonna end the relationship, and so he shows up at her place and says, I'm gonna remind you why you like me so much, and have sex with her. She also is like, I want to touch you, and he's like, I know, you can't, silly bear. And I did not mention this before. It is not that I forgot, I just didn't Yeah, I didn't mention this before, but I think this is kind of a well-known thing about this book, like one of those things people just kind of know about, but he does not like to be touched, and it's tied to his trauma. I don't know. I don't think it's explained like super thoroughly in this book, but I assume that the other books will do that better. It's just kind of dumb. I don't know what else to say. Dumb like the rest of this book. I just thought I'd mention it here because it comes up a lot and they kind of have an argument over it later, so it's pretty important. It's not something I can just ignore. After they're finished, they're talking a little bit and Anna's like asking about being collared, and he says he was collared, and she's like, by Mrs. Robinson, and I don't understand that reference. When I tried to look it up, the only thing that came up was the song by Simon and Garfunkel, and I don't know if that's supposed to be the reference because I don't feel like that makes a lot of sense. So maybe there's another reference I don't get, but I don't know. And he's like, laughs at the nickname. He's like, I'm gonna tell her about that. And she's like, you still talk to her regularly? Yes, he's serious now. Oh, and part of me is suddenly insanely jealous. I'm disturbed by the depth of my feeling. You're jealous over the pedophile that seduced him at 15? What do I even say to that, to be honest? Oh my god. She gets jealous though, right? And she's so jealous. She kicks him out of her house as a punishment. Guess who's getting punished now? And they're meeting on Wednesday to talk about the contract. So that's kind of the next thing that's happening in the book, the next development. As she's kicking him out, it says, but now I feel like a receptacle, an empty vessel to be filled at his whim. This is such an oh my god, this is such an unhealthy way to start a relationship. That's all I can think about, like, through all of this book is like, why are you starting a relationship with this man when it's just everything, the foundations is completely wrong? It's like she's hoping for something specific. He is not going to give that to her. And she keeps thinking, oh, but I can make it work. I can make it work, right? Like, at some point, you just got to say it's not going to work and you got to move on. And there's this constant back and forth. And she's so unhappy through, like, most of this book because of the mental torment of it all. And it's like, you just need to find someone else. Stop trying to make, the square fit into the circle. It's not gonna happen. Like, she's so unhappy. It's obvious that this relationship is founded on insecurity and jealousy and a lot of unhealthy emotions and feelings. And then Kate comes in after this, and Anna is like crying. Again, she's being absolutely emotionally wrecked over this man, but she's crying and Kate is comforting her, and she explains the whole email thing, and it says, patiently I explain the essence of my email without giving anything away. What was the fucking joke? What was the joke? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Like, I feel like there had to have been more to the joke than just saying I don't want to be with you anymore. I feel like there's something more. So what are you not telling me? Because I'm so confused. I'm really confused. I don't get it. Kate's talking to her. He's like, I think he really likes you. He seems to really be into you. And Anna's like, he came here to me. That's all. Who said romance was dead? He uses sex as a weapon. Fuck you into submission? Question mark. Oh, spot on, Catherine Kavanagh. Anna, I don't understand. You should just let him make love to you. No, Kate, we don't make love. We Christian's terminology. He doesn't do the love thing. I knew there was something weird about him. He has commitment issues. I nod as if in agreement. Inwardly, I pine. Oh, Kate, I wish I could tell you everything. Everything about this strange, sad, guy, and you could tell me to forget about him. Stop me from being a fool. Again, the emotional isolation is like no joke. Like, it's there. She feels so distraught by this situation, and she can't even like use the support in her life, the friends that are supporting her in her life to help her get through it because of the NDA. And it's just like so unhealthy. Like, and the whole he uses sex as a weapon thing comes up later, so we'll talk about it in a little bit, but oh my god, it's just so bad. And now I'm going to explain the contract issues because she sends him an email with all of her issues to talk about later. So we're going to go through some of the ones that stood out to me. So the first thing she took issue with was like clause 2. Says, not sure why this is solely for my benefit, because the contract says that it's for her benefit. Like, this is for her to explore her sensuality. And she's like, that's wrong, which I'm glad she pointed that out. To explore my sensuality and limits. I'm sure I wouldn't need a 10-page contract to do that. Surely this is for your benefit. Okay, girl, she cooked on that. 9, obey you in all things, accept without hesitation your discipline. We need to talk about this. She wants a 1-month trial period, not a 3-month trial period. She's like, I don't want to go every weekend because that is part of the contract. I do have a life, or I will. Perhaps 3 out of 4 weekends. And then part of the contract is like, or otherwise, or this, you know, or like not being specific with details. And she's like, you need to define or otherwise. Thank you for saying that. She also writes, this whole discipline clause, I'm not sure I want to be whipped, flogged, or corporally my god, punished. I'm sure this would be in breach of clauses 2 to 5. And also, for any other reason, that's just mean. And you told me you weren't a sadist. He also did not change the rules that they talked about, specifically like the exercise thing. And she has a few other things that she's like feeling she wants to change about the rules. So he also says that she can't look in his eyes, and she's like, why? She's like, why can't I touch you? She has a few things on the rules that she doesn't like, and she wants to go through all of the soft limits. And she's like, just asking for the arrangements for when they're gonna meet. They email back and forth a little bit, and then he's like, go to bed, Anastasia, all caps. So in the beginning of chapter 13, Anna calls her mom again. Again, it's very two-dimensional, and I do not feel the need to really say anything about this, except her mom instantly picks up on the fact she is having boy trouble. Anna sent him her issues, right? And he responded back by saying, I'm going to look over these more thoroughly later, because it was later in the evening when he was emailed, or when she emailed him. And so he, at this point, has responded. He literally sends her the definition of submission to be like, literally, why do you have so many problems? You're supposed to submit. Oh my god. She kind of ate, though, because she sent him back the definition of compromise. He's like, good point, I guess. Yeah, like you forgot you were supposed to compromise? After work, though, she gets home, she does her makeup, and it says, I rarely wear makeup. It intimidates me. Oh. It's not gonna hurt you, girl. Oh my god, like, is it that big of a deal? She's just, like, not like other girls. She just doesn't wear makeup. She's naturally pretty. She borrows one of Kate's dresses and then shows up at the dinner place. They drove separately, and Christian just sees her walk in. His eyes like pop out of his skull, and it's like, wow, you're so pretty. They kind of just jump right into the contract though, and I appreciate that because I don't need more awkward small talk.
You're asking me about the weather?
And she's a little annoyed because Christian did not tell her that the contract is not legally enforceable. Christian says, Anastasia, it doesn't matter if it's legal or not. It represents an arrangement that I would like to make with you, what I would like from you, and what you can expect from me. If you don't like it, then don't sign. If you do sign, then decide and then decide you don't like it, you can get out of it, basically. Relationships like this are built on honesty and trust. If you don't trust me to know how I'm affecting you, how far I can go with you, how far I can take you. If you can't be honest with me, then we really can't do this. So it's quite simple, Anastasia. Do you trust me or not? Do you have similar discussions with the 15? Did I mention that he's had 15 other subs? I don't know if I read that part. He's had 15 other subs. No. Why not? Because they were all established submissives. They knew what they wanted out of a relationship with me, and generally what I expected. With them, it's just a question of fine-tuning the soft limits, details like that. Is there a store you go to? Submissives are us? No. Trust and honesty is really genuinely important. I don't have anything wrong to say with that. I mean, I will say I think that he probably should be still having these kinds of conversations with submissives, no matter if they're established or not. But trust and honesty are really important in a BDSM relationship. Like that, no one's gonna deny that, right? But, okay, and hear me out. I don't think we should trust Christian. I don't think he deserves her trust. Like, you have to show that you have earned that. And the only thing that he's done to me is make me trust him less, because he's been stalking her. He showed up at her house without asking when she seemed like she didn't want to do the contract anymore. He isolated her with the NDA. And like, I just think the list of things that he's done goes on. So he's asking for basically blind trust, which is not what BDSM should be based on. It should be genuine trust, established trust, not this. So they go to a private room that he like booked out. He's being freaky about food again. This is when they kind of start getting into more of her specific issues. The clause 2 thing about it being beneficial for her only, he's like, agreed, this is for both of us. I will redraft that. He also says, your next point I mentioned earlier, you can walk away anytime, Anastasia. I won't stop you. If you go, however, that's it, just so you know. Okay, I answer softly. If I go, that's it. The thought is surprisingly painful. Interesting. She's just willing to bend backwards for this man, and it's just not a healthy way to start a relationship. But then she essentially eats oysters. She's just like, okay, yeah, she's getting into it. They're oysters. It's like, I don't know what to say. So then he continues after the oyster eating, and he's like, obey me in all things. Yes, I want you to do that. I need you to do that. Think of it as roleplay, Anastasia. But I'm worried you'll hurt me. Hurt you how? Physically and emotionally, she thinks. Do you really think I would do that? Go beyond any limit you can't take? You kind of do. So she kind of agrees to try to obey him, you know? And then he's like, we have to do 3 months, we can't do 1. And then he jumps to the ownership thing. He's like, the ownership thing, that's just terminology, and goes back to the principle of obeying. It's to get you into the right frame of mind, to understand where I'm coming from. And I want you to know that as soon as you cross my threshold as my submissive, I will do what I like to you. You have to accept that, and willingly. That's why you have to trust me. I will you anytime, anywhere, anyway I want, anywhere I want. I will discipline you because you will screw up. I will train you to please me. But I know you've not done this before. Initially, we'll take it slowly. I will help you. We'll build up to various scenarios. I want you to trust me, but I know I have to earn your trust, and I will. The or otherwise, again, is to help you get into that mindset. It means anything goes. And so before it felt like blind trust, and now you're like, oh, but yeah, like I'm supposed to earn it. And it's like, you really haven't though. You actually like totally have not earned her trust. Not to mention the fact he does things at inappropriate times. There's one scene in particular that like kind of is one of my, oh my god, it's like I look back on that scene and I'm like, this book is trash, kind of a feeling. And like that is such a good example of he does not do what he says he's going to do. Discipline. There's a very fine line between pleasure and pain, Anastasia. There are 2 sides of the same coin, one not existing without the other. I can show you how pleasurable pain can be. You don't believe me now, but this is what I mean about trust. There will be pain, but nothing you can't handle. Again, it comes down to trust. Do you trust me, Anna? And then she says, yes, I do. She responds spontaneously, by the way. I want to earn your trust, but do you trust me? And she's like, yeah. You haven't earned the trust. You stalked her and you've done all this other creepy to her. Like, how the have you earned her trust? Because you're attractive? That's that one bias. It's like the halo effect. Is that what it's called? Wait, now I need to look it up. Yeah, the halo effect is a cognitive bias where a person's overall impression influences how we perceive their specific traits, often leading us to assume that if someone is good in one area, they are good in others as well. Yep, that's what's happening. She trusts him because he's attractive. Don't do that. That's dangerous. Basically, he transitions to just being really horny and like wanting to have sex with her again. And she's like kind of playing into it, but also like, I don't think that's a good decision right now, which I agree with that. But she even says to him, Christian, you use sex as a weapon. It really isn't fair. I whisper, staring down at my hands. You're right, I do. In life, you use what you know, Anastasia. It doesn't change how much I want you, here, now. Second time we've said this phrase that he uses sex as a weapon, and he's straight up agreeing to it. Like, that's not something you should use as a weapon, okay? Do I need to explain why? I hope not. He's trying to get in her pants, and she's like, he's the only one who knows and understands the rules. I'm just too naive and inexperienced. Honestly, this is just frustrating. Like, despite all of this, she has no idea what's going on. Like, she doesn't understand shit. And part of me wants to, like, feel bad for her. Part of me wants to say this is all Christian's doing and he's not communicating enough. He's doing it all wrong. But he has explained a lot. I don't think he's explained everything well. It's kind of an overwhelming situation, I guess, but I'm just getting to the point, like, I got to the point when I was reading this book at this point where I'm just like, are you just fucking dumb? Like, if you're aware of this power balance, because that's a huge power balance that she's actively pointing out. He knows more than me. I'm too inexperienced. Don't get involved with him. It's just screaming bad idea and not the girl in red song. So then she subtly eats her asparagus, sucking on it a little, okay? And the waitress interrupts them and she's like, I should leave. I shouldn't stay here any longer. I'm gonna do something I regret. Okay, sure. And he's like, I could make you stay. Yes, you could easily, but I don't want you to. You know, when you fell into my office to interview me, you were all, yes, sir, no, sir. I thought you were a natural-born submissive, but quite frankly, Anastasia, I'm not sure you have a submissive bone in your delectable body. You may be right. I want the chance to explore the possibility that you do. He reaches up and caresses my face. I don't know any other way, Anastasia. This is who I am. What do you mean this is who you are? Why are you so convinced that this is the only way it can be for you? But they're parting and it's supposed to be kind of dramatic. Christian has to like pause though and say, your car looks like it's going to kill you. It looks like a death trap. Rude. And I don't know, all of it just feels really frustrating because she's so conflicted. Whether she wants to go through this or not, like she doesn't really want to be part of this whole world. She's just interested in getting to Christian. And it's like, I don't know, it's frustrating to actually read it, but also this vulnerability that she has, this like back and forth that she's constantly doing. Like, she's so insecure, she wants something romantic, she's so inexperienced and can't conceptualize anything, and it's like, there's going to be other men. Like, how many times do I have to say this? If it's not working, don't force it to work, okay? Like, just let it go. There's other oysters in the sea. It's like a mental torment that she's going through. Like, at one point, do you just say, you've had enough? Another thing I want to say is that I kind of feel like the contract is doing more harm than good. And like, the contract is supposed to be helpful. It's supposed to be good, right? But like, I feel like the existence of the contract is honestly giving her more anxiety than it is like relieving her. Contracts in this kind of relationship, in these kinds of relationships, are supposed to be helpful. They are supposed to be a written way to have all of the rules, the soft limits, the hard limits, all that kind of stuff. Like, part of this is kind of like, I understand why it's necessary, but I also think that she should not be actually committing to something like this when she hasn't even been in a regular relationship before. I think this is so much pressure that she's being put through. He should just kind of let her naturally sort of try things. You don't need a contract to do basic BDSM stuff, right? Contracts are only ever really used if you're in a very intense relationship. I don't think that a contract's normal if you're just doing BDSM scenes and stuff every once in a while. So I don't see why they can't just have a regular kind of friends with benefits type relationship where they do scenes together and she can slowly sort of work up to it, and then later he could be like, so you've been doing this for a little bit of time, do you want to try the thing that I originally introduced to you that I like to do with the 24-hour thing? And if she's like no, then there you go. And if she's like, yeah, I actually like this, I could probably do that, then there you go. And it's not even just about, do I want to do this with Christian? There's just, again, there's this underlying thing of like, do I want to sign the contract? That's another issue. So I don't know. I just think that the contract puts more pressure on her. I think it gives her more anxiety. I think it's not a good first step. I think the good first step that we should be making is, like I said, having a less formal relationship where they are trying things out together, and whether it's training, which is just kind of a gross word to use, or just experimenting, she can start to kind of lean into that lifestyle and see if maybe that's something she wants to continue in the future. Contracts are important if you're doing something intense like this, but you need to do it better. Okay, Christian? Okay. Chapter 14 opens up with a banger, meaning he bangs her in her dreams. She has a wet dream and he flogs her. Are us. Submissives are us? No. Are us. That was really dumb, I'm sorry. But we have some more back and forth from Anna. If I tell him I want more, he may say no, and I could jeopardize what he's offered. Don't... She doesn't even feel comfortable, like, communicating her issues with this guy. Like, why are you starting a relationship with him? Anyways, today's graduation and Christian's there. Uh-oh. And, like, I literally forgot about this. Like, I forgot who he even was and how they even met, to be honest, like, at this point in the book. She's sitting there, right? She kind of like locks eyes with Christian. He's gonna like do a speech, and that's kind of the whole thing. But there are these girls sitting next to her, and they're like, oh my god, Christian Grey, so attractive, oh my gosh. And she turns to them and she's like, I'm pretty sure he's gay. Yeah. And they're like, oh, imagine being so jealous that you're like, I'm just gonna tell them that like my boyfriend's gay. I think that's really funny, actually. I think at this point Christian is just gay. Like, everyone thinks it, even his own like girlfriend. Like, okay.
Hey, be who you are.
I also just love how she has literally no thoughts about her graduating. She's not like, oh my god, I'm graduating. I'm so proud of myself. It's been 4 hard years of me going to college, but I'm finally doing it. I'm going out into the world and I'm gonna be a working adult. She's just like thinking about Christian the entire time. He's also like mad at her because she didn't respond to his emails, which she didn't even know he sent emails to her. He then insists on meeting her stepdad, Ray, which I know this is the first time we've met, but reminder that my username on YouTube is Ray. Personal. This is personal. I am not her stepdad. Get away from me, Anna. So, he's like, I need to meet your stepdad. I do. And she's like, I don't really want you to. She's uncomfortable, which is fine. Like, kind of understandable, because she's like, I don't even know who you are to me. I don't really want you to, like, meet my dad, you know? Real. And then he's just like, no, I'm gonna meet your stepdad. There's a lot of, like, running around that happens, so I don't want to explain it all, but Kate and Anna talk a little bit. Kate's brother is there and like puts his hand around her waist, and Christian gets jealous again because he's always jealous. And Kate kind of outs Christian as Anna's boyfriend in front of Ray, so that's kind of when they have their conversation, and Ray just absolutely loves Christian, by the way. He mentioned this earlier in the chapter, but he's like, I want you to give me an answer about the contract by tomorrow. Tomorrow? It's been like 2 days. That is so little time to think. Okay, it's been less than 24 hours, actually. So, what the he's rushing her so much. Like, that's crazy, dude. You know it's gonna be good, don't you, baby? But I want more. More? And he was like, what do you mean? I'm confused. But he figures it out, and he's like, more. You want hearts and flowers. She nods. Anastasia, it's not something I know. Me either. You don't know much. You know all the wrong things. Wrong, not to me. Try it, he whispers, a challenge, daring me, and he cocks his head to one side and smiles his crooked, dazzling smile. I gasp, and I'm Eve in the Garden of Eden, and he's the serpent, and I cannot resist. Okay, I whisper. What? Okay, I'll try. Holy shit, I've just agreed to be his sub. The fact that she basically impulsively agrees to this, and she doesn't even like again process that she's done this until after she's agreed, is like wrong in so many ways. Like, I don't even think that's her fault. I think that he's literally just been manipulating her into saying yes because he's been grooming her. She's not saying this because she's really thought it through. She's not saying this because she's like, I do really want this though. She's just impulsively saying it because he's challenging her to. Like, what the f is wrong with you, dude? She does not understand what she is getting involved with. So everything wraps up though, and at the end of the chapter, she decides on the quote that she wants to send back with the test books or the Tom Hardy books. And she chooses the quote, I agree to the conditions, Angel, because you know best what my punishment ought to be. Only, don't make it more than I can bear. To not over-explain the quote from the actual book. So she's just admitting that this might not be a good decision, but she is resigning to that. She's like, I'm gonna do it anyways, basically. So she's just accepting that fate, even though it's not fair to her. I want to take a moment and explain why this is grooming, because I know that I've said that, I've claimed that a lot, but I haven't completely gotten into why I believe this is grooming like fully. So I'm just gonna try and basically wrap up everything. I looked this up a while ago, but just kind of was researching some of the grooming tactics that are used, and specifically like the manipulation part of it, right? And I'm just going to go through each one that I found. There's 5 of them, and briefly kind of explain why I think this mark is like checked, you know, why I think this is happening in this book. So we're going to do that. Hopefully this helps just kind of like solidify my argument. Again, I know I've been going through a lot of this. It's not very organized. It is a rant after all, but I want to try and organize it during this point so that you guys can hopefully understand where I'm coming from a little bit better. If you're like, I still don't quite understand maybe why it's grooming, I'm going to try and explain it to you right now. So the first thing that is considered is the actual victim that is selected for grooming. So why is Anna chosen? The first thing is that Christian straight up says, as soon as I saw you, I thought you would be a good submissive. And so he's basically had this idea in his mind since he saw her. So there's that level of like a physical attraction, but there's also this idea that because of the way she was acting, he felt like he could exploit that and have us, make a submissive out of her. And very quickly realized that she does not have a lot of experience. He knew this. He admitted this again in a later chapter. So knowing that she didn't have that experience, he still wanted to make her his sub. She's also written to be very innocent in a lot of ways. I mean, experience-wise, obviously she's very inexperienced. She's also very infantilized. This starts to happen so much with all of the pigtail shit. There's just a lot of things like that throughout this book. Like the whole calling her a child or feeling like a child, stuff like that. Why do we do that so much? Because we're infantilizing her. And then there's also this whole thing about her wanting romance and wanting a romantic relationship. And he even knows that she wants a romantic relationship and starts to kind of, in a way appeal to that, in my opinion, with, acting intimate with her, even though he doesn't want that kind of relationship. So it's basically, to me, it feels like he just is doing those kinds of things so he can get in her pants. Okay, her very innocent view on romance makes her so much easier to manipulate and control because she doesn't know what to expect. She wants this guy and she doesn't have quite the concept, the ability to conceptualize that, again, there's gonna be other men. I've said that so many times and it just seems like she doesn't get it. She doesn't realize that she could just find someone else if she waits, and that incompatibility happens, you know? So I think there's a lot of like that happens in this book, and I think that makes her a very easy victim in a lot of ways, unfortunately. The second tactic is isolation, which again, I've talked about this a lot. The NDA is like the perfect example because that is like emotionally isolating, right? Like she literally is not allowed to talk to her friend, her mom, her dad. At some point in the book, she wants to talk to at least to those people. Like, but she can't because the NDA, he's isolated her. He also, like, I would say, you know, physically isolates her when he takes her to Seattle, when he introduces her to BDSM in general. I think that's a form of isolation, even if it's like momentary. I still think that happens. And again, wanting her to be at his place during the weekend and stuff is kind of another form of isolation in of itself. The NDA is really the worst one when it comes to isolation, but I still think the other things are kind of like eyebrow raising enough to mention. Number 3 is trust development. So I think this is, again, pretty obvious. Groomers want to gain their victims' trust because that makes it easier for them to later use that trust against them and be like, oh, you trust me, right? Let me do something inappropriate to you. Like that chapter 13 was really, really heavy on this, where he's emphasizing trust over and over and over. And he's like, you have to trust me. I have to earn your trust and all this stuff. She trusts him, says she trusts him despite not having really a good reason to trust him at all. There's a difference between good, healthy, established trust and what's going on here. And that is, I think, at its basis, because Christian is, even despite what he says about wanting to earn her trust, is asking for blind trust and is kind of forcing her and saying, you need to trust me, you have to trust me, do you trust me? There's also the gifts, which is part of trust development as well. So sending gifts, giving gifts can make people trust you more. He also gives her special treatment, which, you know, is all about like making you feel safe and special with that person. So it's a lot easier to gain people's trust that way. Number 4 is desensitization. So desensitizing your victim to whatever you want them to do. This part of the grooming with children specifically is typically desensitizing them to sexual things, because that is what a lot of grooming, kind of the goal of grooming is. And I think he does this too, to an extent. It's different because, again, they're adults, so she knows what sex is. She's in a way desensitized to it, but he's doing that even further. He's pushing that even further. And so, you know, we kind of see the way that he isn't straightforward. And I think that's part of it. He does not explain what he wants because he's slowly, you know, kind of introducing her to this idea of being a submissive instead of being very open and, you know, honest about that from the beginning, which means that, again, I said this before, he's stringing her along to get her where he wants her. After she's comfortable with him, after she's getting kind of desensitized to him, getting comfortable with her attraction for him, is when he introduces her to BDSM. And he's like, you could be a submissive for me if you want to be with me. I think that's so deceptive, so manipulative. I'm not really sure if this is necessarily desensitization, but it's something. It's something. And I definitely think it's grooming. He also is desensitizing her to BDSM. The first time they have sex, it's like pretty vanilla. He's not really doing anything. But then he starts kind of like, he holds her hand above her head. He like ties her hands. And then he covers her eyes the next time, and you know, it's starting to act a little bit more dominant. It's starting to do things a little bit at a time, which he admits is intentional. And I think it is actually important, again, I kind of mentioned this before, to slowly introduce someone who hasn't done this kind of stuff into it. Because if you jump in, it could be very, very overwhelming, especially for someone like him who has like very, you know, specific wants. But I think in this specific situation, the problem that I have is that he slowly introduces her to these things, yes, but the reason he's doing that is not because he seems to care about her sensuality. He doesn't seem to care about her exploring and trying this new world, like genuinely. It seems to be much more for his benefit, for training her to be a good submissive, which I think training is basically just a swap out for grooming, because the only thing that he's trying to do this entire book is make her his submissive. Like, he's been using different manipulation tactics and treating her in really weird ways and doing all of these things because of one goal: to make her a submissive, to make her a very specific kind of submissive for him. And that's literally like the definition of grooming. And the other thing I feel like I could mention, just because whatever, it's not as big of a deal, but there's also kind of forcing your way into someone's personal life. That's also a common grooming tactic. The way he's so insistent that she meets his mom, the way he's so insistent that he meets her dad, and then his brother is now dating her best friend. I don't know, there's this kind of like interconnection of, you know, their lives are starting to feel a little overlapping. Not really sure if I could really say that's the worst thing, because they are, again, adults. And I think that when you're an adult, you do feel more agency, because kind of the point of getting into someone's personal life, a victim's personal life, is so that they don't feel comfortable reaching out for help because, oh, well, my parents really like this dude who's grooming me, so maybe he's a good guy and I'm just misunderstanding. Maybe it's all my fault. Or I can't tell them because they'll be sad because they like him. You know, it's like that very naive, childish thinking. It's pretty messed up. So I can't say that Anna's completely falling victim to that, because she is an adult and she doesn't have to, rely on those kinds of relationships as much. I don't think it's as big of a deal, but I think that there's enough of an aspect of it going on that I might as well mention it. So those are the 5 things that I saw that felt like grooming to me when I was looking up what grooming tactics people typically use. And I was like, oh boy, these are like literally all in the book. So if you were like not sure if this is grooming, I hope that cleared it up for you. I know I'm still just kind of rambling, but it's just really bad. Post editing Ray here, and I wanted to apologize. So I was originally planning to have this video be like a coverage of the entire first book, and then I realized I underestimated my ability to yap. And just to give you an idea, this video's probably gonna end up being like 2.5, 3 hours long. That's based on what I have edited. And I had originally about 5 hours of filming to get through, so it's been a mess. So again, I apologize. This is gonna have to be part 1 of 2 parts. So if you enjoyed this rant, stick around for part 2, which is gonna be chapters 15 through 26. So it should be shorter because I am halfway through the book. I'm sorry. I really, really appreciate anyone who stuck around and watched the whole thing. Thank you. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll look out for part 2. I've already read it, but I do need to write notes and everything for it still. So I'm not sure when that will come out, but yeah. I guess if you made it this far, tell me what you think Christian named his penis. Again, thanks so much. I'll be back with part 2 sometime soon.